Great Tribal Chief. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251, The Goal. Hong Yi-un showed her toughness for the first time after becoming the High Priest of Kabru. Of course, the kind of toughness she showed, or the strength, no one in the Gaoshu tribe would dare to go against it, even if it expands to the entire Cherokee tribe. Those who dare to oppose can't pick out a few, even if the Kabru priest has not served as the High Priest of the Cherokee for more than 200 years. The legends about the Kabru High Priest are circulated throughout the Cherokee. Among the Cherokee tribe, the High Priest of Kabru is already a legend. Even the current High Priest is an admirer of the Kabru High Priest. Moreover, the current High Priest of the Cherokee tribe didn't dare to call himself the High Priest, but called himself the Blue Feather Sacrifice, missing a big representing identity. The last time Hong Yi-un's mother, that is, when the previous High Priest Kabru passed away, it was this Lanu priest personally presided over the funeral, which is enough to prove that the current Cherokee High Priest had a lineage with Kabru High Priest. Respect and worship. Now Hong Yi-un took out the power of the High Priest of Kabru, not to mention that Li Lei was just her real uncle. Even if he was a real father, he had to listen honestly. It's just that no one would have thought that Hong Yi-un was so resolute and vigorous. She didn't even hesitate, and directly deprived of the position of leader of the Li Lei tribe. Although everyone in the room was extremely surprised, all of them accepted Hong Yi-un's order without complaint. Even Li Lei did the same, but after he heard this powerful command, he seemed to be a few years old in an instant. "Uncle, Bigfoot, congratulations on becoming the leader of the tribe. I will call you the leader of the tribe from now on." Shi Xiong grinned and congratulated the tribal leader, who was freshly baked and steaming. Bigfoot smiled and waved his hand, and then said solemnly, "Guardian, we don't need to say if you are polite. I am the leader personally given to me by the High Priest, but I know what I should do in the future. Guardian, I like my brother Li Lei. He doesn't have any talent for pioneering, but I can guarantee that I will keep the family business well. No matter how big your family business is, I will definitely protect it." Shi Xiong suppressed the smile on his face, and also solemnly said, "Boss Bigfoot, I'll take care of you in the future." Bigfoot nodded seriously. The conversation between the two was a promise to each other. The meaning of Bigfoot is very simple: you fight the world, I will guard the world for you. Shi Xiong's meaning is equally clear: as long as you can do what you promised, then I will give you a great future. Bigfoot is very smart. He knows why his brother lost the leader of the tribe, so he will never do it against the Guardian. Is it actually fun to work against the Guardian? That's something fools can do. Since the Guardian came to the High Tree tribe, the tribe's huge changes have been the most clear, and he also saw the Guardian's cleverness, fierceness and stability during the trip to the Akron Fortress. A person with such a personality is destined to be a person who will go to the top. It is only good to mix with such a person, but there is absolutely no harm. When Bigfoot and the Guardian were chatting in private before, he had heard the Guardian talk about the future several times. With Bigfooted vision and judgment, he believes that the Guardian will definitely be able to do what he said in the future. There is no reason why a person with such a stable and ruthless character will not succeed. "Guardian, what do you plan to do in the future? Tell me first. I will convey your meaning in the name of the tribal leader." "For some things, the effect is better for me," Bigfoot said straightforwardly. The meaning of is very clear: I am a humanoid microphone. Do whatever you want. "Uncle, Bigfoot, will this embarrass you?" How come? Actually, if it wasn't for the girl Hong Yi-un who made such a decision on that occasion, I really didn't want to be the leader of the tribe. If it wasn't for the chief of the tribe of the Kabru High Priest, Kabru had to be the leader of the tribe. If the priest's relatives are here, I would recommend you to become the leader of the tribe, so things will become much easier. Stone Bear hurriedly waved his hand. "Uncle Bigfoot, don't be kidding. How could I become the leader of the tribe? The leader of our Gaoshu tribe is destined to be only the relatives of your High Priest Kabru. Outsiders are impossible." The Stone Bear is also very clear about this. The former name of the Gaoshu tribe was the Kabaru High Priest tribe. When it first came here, the leader of the tribe was the Kabaru High Priest himself. However, every High Priest of Kabul is not keen on managing the tribe. They are more willing to communication with the gods. So since about 150 years ago, the High Priest of Kabul tribe changed its name to the High Tree tribe. The leader of the tribe is also replaced by the relatives of the High Priest Kabulu himself. Since more than 150 years ago, every tribal leader of the Gaoshu tribe has been the closest relative of the Kabulu High Priest, and outsiders are not allowed to serve. It is as if the previous leader of the Gaoshu tribe was Hong Yun's pro-grandpa www.wuxiaspa.com who was the father of the previous Kabru high priest. Because the old man was not qualified to be the high priest of Kabru, he became the leader of the Gaoshu tribe. And this leader of the tribe became the brother of the previous high priest Kabul, and the uncle of Hong Yun. Hong Yun also has his own brothers, but none of them are qualified to be Kabru high priest. Moreover, their qualifications were too low to become the leader of the tribe. So this time Hong Yun lost the position of leader of the Lilai tribe, and let her other uncle, Dajiao, be the new leader of the tribe. This is the tradition of the Gaoshu tribe. Even if the stone bear is the leader of the Gaoshu tribe, there is no problem at all, but this tradition cannot be broken. Although Shi Xiong's body also has the blood of Kabul high priest, but after all, it has no direct blood relationship with the current Kabul high priest Hong Yun. So the seat of this tribe leader can only be seated with Big Feet. But Bigfoot was able to confess his meaning directly. Shi Xiong knew that the last shackle that had bound him had been completely untied. In fact, Li Lei is not without his advantages. At least he is doing a good job of defending this one. However, Li Lei's biggest disadvantage is that he is too selfish. Shi Xiong knows why Li Lei is always wary of him. If he is Li Lei, if he is not a traverser, he will also express the greatest guard against a tribe who suddenly rises strongly. Do you think what are you doing? Do you want to take my leadership position? Do you want to subvert the Gaoshu tribe? Of course, Shi Xiong would not do that, and the little Gaoshu tribe would not be regarded by him. Not to mention the High Tree tribe, even the entire Cherokee tribe, he didn't pay attention to it. In Shi Xiong's mind, this rich and beautiful new continent is his goal. Chapter 252. Eliminate misunderstanding. After Bigfoot left, Hong Yun came to apologize in person. Hong Yun, in fact, you don't need to say these things, and there is no need to say these things between us. I understand your difficulties, so I have never complained about you, Shi Xiong said to Hong Yun very sincerely. If Hong Yun's mother was still there, Shi Xiong wouldn't say this kind of heart-wrenching words. The old woman felt a little uncomfortable. But if it was Hong Yun, Shi Xiong would have no such scruples. He would definitely say some things he should say, and there was no need to hide her. Then, you won't leave, will you? Hong Yun was happy. This is what she worries about the most. Of course I won't leave. This is my home. Well, if you drive me away, I can only leave here. Shi Xiong made a joke. Hong Yun gave Shi Xiong a hygienic eye, and then said sincerely, Li Xiong, I will not drive you away. You are the son of God. How could I drive you away? I didn't realize that I did some things before, not decisive enough. Now I realize it. Then I will give you the greatest support and trust in the future. Shi Xiong also said sincerely, Hong Yun, I don't know if you still remember the kind of future I described to you before? Remember, I certainly remember. I dream every day that the kind of future you describe can be realized. Good. To realize this future, we must trust and support each other. Sacrifice. How much support and trust you can give me, I can take you to a high position, and in this process, I will always issue my orders in the name of the Son of God and the High Priest of Kabru, so that when the kind of future I am talking about is realized, the name of High Priest Kabru will spread throughout this vast and prosperous continent. Those Vasikas will also know the name of the High Priest Kabru. I promise that. A smile appeared on Hong Yun's face. Then, when are you going to the Zio tribe? The sooner the better, and when I went to the Zio tribe this time, I was going to pull something over. You can pull whatever you want. I think what you said in the chamber before is correct. The saltpeter mines of the Xiao tribe cannot be thrown away, and after that great change, it is estimated that they are not willing to do it again. The tribe is in seclusion. Instead of cheating the Kaza people, we might as well take the Xiao tribe over. Hong Yun, I am very happy if you have such thoughts and understanding. Well, if you want the Xiao tribe to return to your heart, one is to take advantage of their hatred, and the other is to bring them enough hope and satisfaction. Only by doing two things together can we make the people of the Xiao tribe fully committed. After a pause, Shi Xiong continued, I need to pull a part of the food. The Xiao tribe has lost most of the food in that battle. If there is no food support, it will be difficult for them to get past. Secondly, I need to be able to get past, armed with weapons for 100 people. According to the information I have received, there are still about 100 remaining soldiers in the Xiao tribe. I must arm these people. One is to look after the saltpeter mine, and the other is to go out stronghold. So it is very necessary to maintain an armed force there. Do you need to send some warriors from the tribe? I know that Bai Yun's death makes you very distressed. You want revenge, but you can't rely on the few people. Hearing the name Bai Yun, Shi Xiong felt sad, then shook his head and said, I don't need it for now. Shi Xiong gritted his posterior teeth, and continued with a deep voice, I will avenge Bai Yun's hatred, but not now. After all, my enemy is the entire Yuchi tribe, and the Yuchi tribe is not yet able to it can be dealt with. I still understand that. Hong Yun let out a sigh of relief. I can rest assured if you think so. I am worried that you will be blinded by hatred and do something stupid. How is it possible? Don't forget my other identity. I am a son of God. How can I do stupid things? Besides, I will commemorate the entire Yuchi tribe to Bai Yun. How could I force it when the conditions are not available to engage in the Yuchi tribe? As long as I am ready to do something against the Yuchi tribe, none of the Yuchi tribe can escape, and not only the Yuchi tribe, but the French people, I will not let it go. When he said this, Shi Xiong's face was extremely terrifying, and Hong Yun couldn't help but be surprised when he saw it. Seeing Hong Yun's expression, Shi Xiong smiled and drove the cruel expression on his face out. Hong Yun, this time I am going to the Xiao tribe, and I may stay there for a while. If you have any issues at home, you should take care of it more. Hong Yun nodded. This is okay. Other things in the tribe are already on the right track. The biggest thing in the tribe next is to harvest food. I will be optimistic about this matter. Shi Xiong nodded and said, you are right, but don't forget, once we have a good harvest, then you should do the merging of other tribes immediately. I'm reading www.hukanshu.com. Strawberry Moon, June. The summer harvest is only 3 months away from the harvest month, September, and the autumn harvest. We can take advantage of this time to merge more tribes. When those tribes are merged, the autumn harvest will come again. By then, we will not worry about enough food. Hong Yun, you must remember that as long as you have the opportunity, you must merge more tribes. In this period, population and food are our roots. Well, why have you become as verbose as my mother? Hong Yun ranted. Well, I won't say anything more. If you do your thing well, and I do my thing well, our tribe will inevitably grow up in a short time. This is our confidence and foundation. This conversation with Hong Yun also completely eliminated the slight faint misunderstanding that had appeared between the two. Shi Xiong was very happy, and Hong Yun was also very happy. The 4 inland armed transport ships were used again, and this time all 4 ships were fully loaded. A full 10,000 pounds of grain, about 1,000 pounds of salt and some cloth are all going to the Xiao tribe. These basic living materials can ensure that the Xiao tribe will not starve to death. Although 10,000 pounds of food is not a lot, the battle that took place in the Xiao tribe did not affect the farmland of the Xiao tribe. The damaged farmland of the Xiao tribe is only a small part of it. So when the Xiao tribe receives it next summer, Xiao the tribe's own farmland can also produce a large amount of food. In addition to living supplies, Shi Xiong pulled up 100 muskets seized from the French, along with corresponding ammunition. In addition, weapons made of steel, such as steel knives, steel spears, steel arrows, etc., have also been removed. The remaining soldiers of the Xiao tribe must be fully armed, and these weapons are the confidence to hold there. Chapter 253, If you don and number 039 go, we won and number 039 go either. When returning to Xiao tribe again after a lapse of more than 10 days, Shi Xiong found that the situation here had become worse. It wasn't that Yuchi or Chikasha came to attack the Xiao tribe, it was because of the Xiao tribe. Although the attack by the Yuchis last time caused great damage to this tribe, the people of Xiao tribe were supported by hatred at that time, and they didn't see how it came to be. However, with the defeat of the Yukai people, the casualties of the Xiao tribe were counted. When the people of the Xiao tribe dissipated in a breath that supported their hatred, the entire tribe almost collapsed. Of course, hatred can make people strong and powerful, but this tone is difficult to sustain for long. No matter how big the hatred is, it will gradually accumulate over time, but it will definitely not allow people to stay in that state of excitement for a long time. This is the current situation for the people of the Xiao tribe. After experiencing the initial stage of excitement, the shortcomings of food shortages and reduced personnel immediately became apparent. In the entire Xiao tribe, almost every household died in that attack, so the urgent situation they are facing is shared by the whole clan. No matter how great the hatred is, they can't feed their stomachs, so when the shortage of food appeared, the people of the Xiao tribe were dumbfounded. We must know that although nearly 900 people died in the Xiao tribe, almost all of them were injured. In this case, how do you let these people go out hunting or picking? Even if some people can go hunting and picking, how can they sustain the livelihood of 600 people with so little human gains? Therefore, when Shi Xiong led 4 inland river armed transport ships full of food, salt, cloth, and weapons to the entrance of the river valley to the west of the Xiao tribe, the whole tribe became a sensation. Except for those who were seriously injured, almost all the other members of the Xiao tribe went into battle to carry food. At this moment, Dakshin, who was originally the guardian of the future son-in-law of the Xiao tribe, immediately upgraded to become the savior of the Xiao tribe. The guys of the High Tree tribe sailing the boat helped the people of the Xiao tribe to unload the grain downward. The stone bear ignored these tedious tasks, and he took Dep and Sheila into the tribe. Dep had no impression of the Xiao tribe. When he was in the Xiao tribe, he was still a bear cub who didn't open his eyes. But Sheila was a little confused. Sheila was born and raised here since she was young, and she is naturally very familiar with the Xiao tribe. But is the Xiao tribe in front of you still the quiet and peaceful tribe before? Sheila sniffed here and there, and finally let out a wailing. Shi Xiong knelt down and embraced the silly girl. His heart was also sour. Only Dep, the unscrupulous person, still sang joy everywhere. He took his son and daughter to a hillside deep in the tribe, where members of the Xiao tribe who were killed in the attack were buried. Lei Ying and Bai Yun were buried here with a family of 3. Shi Xiong held Dep, who was a little restless, in one hand, sitting on the ground and whispering something to Bai Yun's tomb, and Sheila squatted down beside her. In the evening, the bonfire ignited again in the tribe, and the laughter of the people of the Xiao tribe was heard. Shi Xiong rubbed his numb buttocks and legs and stood up, kissing deeply on the tombstone of Bai Yun. After a while, they left the cemetery with the 2 little guys. "Brother Xiong, I heard from your tribe that you followed, and some of my tribesmen also saw you come here, but why didn't you go home?" By the campfire, Stone Xiong met the supporter of the green skylark, Stone Hammer. As soon as Stone Hammer saw the stone bear, he greeted him happily. "I went to Bai Yun and spoke with her all afternoon," Shi Xiong said faintly. Then he saw the green lark, whose face was still a little pale, and asked with concern, "How is your injury? How about this occasion? It's time to come out." Green Skylark looked at the stone bear with a complicated complexion, and finally sighed and said, "My injury is okay, the tribe's sacrifice is fine, and she has saved many tribesmen." Shi Xiong nodded slightly. Sacrifices in North American Indian tribes are not only responsible for communication with the gods all over the sky, but also the witch doctors in the tribe. Just like Hong Yun, and Hong Yun's deceased mother, although they are expensive high priests of Kabru, they all have very good treatments. Especially for the treatment of trauma, Hong Yun has a lot of herbal medicine in his hands. Yes, North American Indians don't look at their ignorance and backwardness, but they are far better than the Europeans of this era in terms of healing. In this era, Europeans used bloodletting in addition to bloodletting when treating various intractable diseases. Even the current French King Louis XV would use bloodletting treatment for smallpox infection more than 10 years later, but the bloodletting was too much. Many eventually died. But the sacrifices or witch doctors of North American Indians are different. They are just like their compatriots on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. The treatment used by witch doctors in North American Indian tribes is very similar to Chinese medicine, but this kind of medical treatment, which is not recognized in later generations, has saved countless Indians in this era and thousands of years in the past. Seeing that Shi Xiong was talking to the son and daughter of the Lei Ying leader, the tribe of Xiao tribe was so witty that they didn't get together, even if they had countless words of gratitude they wanted to say to Shi Xiong. Do you two have any plans in the future? Shi Xiong used the skinning knife he carried with him to cut 2 pieces of meat from the savory deer leg. www.wuxiaspot.com while handing it to the green lark and the stone hammer, while asking Tao. Shi Xiong wanted to say, but seeing his old sister's face, he shrank his neck, opened his mouth and started to bite the roast venison in his hand. Green Sky Lark said faintly, what else is there to plan? Our tribe is completely finished. We don't even have enough food. The tribe can hardly survive, so I don't know what to do in the future. Why don't you go to the Gaoshu tribe? There is still a lot of food in our tribe, enough to feed your people. When the Green Sky Lark and Stone Hammer heard Stone Bear say this, their eyes lit up, but then they shook their heads again. Green Sky Lark said, this matter is not for the two of us to decide. If Abba is still there, he can make a decision, but now who has the final say in the tribe now? Now, it is Das Hanj and Kashisha offering sacrifices. Shi Xiong nodded, and then asked, then, if Das Han and Kasasa allow you to go to the Gaoshu tribe, will you go? Well, just go with those people in your tribe who are willing to go to the Gaoshu tribe. Shi Hammer nodded, looking very happy. But Green Sky Lark asked, Big Bear, will you take us back to your high tree tribe? Shi Xiong shook his head and said, if you are going to the Gaoshu tribe, you can take a boat. It is safe and the road is more comfortable. As for me, I will not return to the Gaoshu tribe for the time being. I will stay here and do some other things. When Stone Bear said this, Green Sky Lark and Stone Hammer looked at each other, and then Green Sky Lark said, Great Bear, if you don't go back, Little Stone and I will not go back. We will stay and help you. Chapter 254, Strong Reason. The conversation with Das Han and Kasasa sacrifices went well. Both the Das Han and Kasasa sacrifices expressed their gratitude to the Gaoshu tribe for accepting the tribe of the Xiao tribe. Kasasa was a woman in her 40s who was older than Hong Yun's mother, but she appeared to be much younger than Hong Yun's mother. After all, the sacrifice of the Xiao tribe does not have the divination method that is indistinguishable from self-mutilation like the Kabul sacrifice line. The main reason why Kashisha was able to become a sacrifice to the Xiao tribe was that she had a superb healing technique. The sacrifices of North American Indian tribes are often an outstanding witch doctor. The same is true for the Kabul sacrifice line, but compared to the miraculous peek into the future of the Kabul sacrifice line, their own medical skills on the contrary, it is not valued by others. But Kashisha only offered medicine to her sacrifice, and she didn't know the magical spells that Kabulo sacrificed to Avain. But her medical skills are enough to make her a sacrifice to the Xiao tribe. Kashisha is a very talkative woman. When Thunder Eagle was there, she was not dewy, and the big things in the tribe were made by the powerful Thunder Eagle. Now that Lei Ying is no longer there, she must step forward to appease the tribe's tribe. Da Shan used to be the most outstanding fighter under Lei Ying. Although he was young, his prestige was still very high. Therefore, at this critical moment, he also stood up and assisted Kashisha to sacrifice and manage the current Xiao tribe. Guardian, can our people get the living conditions they deserve to go to your Gaoshu tribe? This is what I care about the most. After all, we are all Chikashas. Kashisha is very direct. asked Shi Xiong. Honorable Gaoshu sacrifice, please rest assured, before I came to the Xiao tribe, the decision-making level of our tribe had agreed to accept people who were willing to go to the Xiao tribe of our tribe, and our Kabru high priest also personally. I agreed, otherwise, I wouldn't bring so much food. Gaoshu nodded. She believed Shi Xiong's words, but she still looked at the mountain next to her with some worry. Gaoshu smiled and said, I can assure you about this, although I don't know what decision Gaoshu tribe has made. The last time I went to Gaoshu tribe with the leader of Thunder Eagle, I thought Gaoshu the people of the tree tribe are still very good. Gaoshu wouldn't tell about the fact that they were almost killed by the people of the Gaoshu tribe when they first arrived in the Gaoshu tribe, because Gaoshu knew that the reason why the people of the Gaoshu tribe were so excited and angry that time was mainly related to their own gang's identity. But didn't the people in the Gaoshu tribe be okay? From Gaoshu's point of view, if the guardian and the high priest of Kabru have made a promise, the people of the Xiao tribe will have no problem. Yes, Gaoshu sacrifices. I think there are questions about the future life of your people. I can guarantee that they will live well. Although our Gaoshu tribe is a Cherokee tribe, we are not that kind of reasonable Cherokee. After your tribe members go to our tribe will treat them as tribe members. Shi Xiong said sincerely. Gaoshu nodded in the end, but she also stated her conditions. Guardian, if my people can be well taken care of in your tribe, then I will not follow them for the time being. I want to stay. Coming down, there are still many injured tribesmen who need me. Shi Xiong was taken aback. As he was about to say something, the mountain on the side also said, Guardian, I will not go to your tribe for the time being. I want to stay here. Why is this? Gaoshu brother, Gaoshu is here to take care of the injured tribe. But why are you staying here? Although most of the people who go to the Gaoshu tribe are women and children, they also need a leader. Gaoshu, if you don't go to the sacrifices, who will lead them if you don't go again? Gaoshu shook his head like a rattle. I won't go for the time being. You let me say why. I can't tell, but I can feel that I need me here, and you also need me. Shi Xiong frowned and was about to say something. Gaoshu said directly, Guardian, Xiao tribe can't be thrown away. Although the people of Xiao tribe have gone to your Gaoshu tribe, they can't be thrown away here. There are still 900 deaths buried here, the tribe in Ukai's hands. We may not be Ukai's opponents now, but we will definitely be able to defeat Ukai in the future. At that time, I will come here with Ukai's head to pay tribute to these tribesmen. This reason is very good and powerful, and Shi Xiong doesn't know how to refute it. Gaoshu continued, one more thing is that the saltpeter mine behind the tribe cannot be thrown away. Baiyun told me that the saltpeter produced in that cave is very important to the High Tree tribe in the Guardian, and the gunpowder for those muskets is made of saltpeter. It's made www.wuxiaspot.com. Therefore, the saltpeter mine must be guarded. Now there are more than 100 warriors in the tribe who can fight. We will guard here. One is to guard the tribe's cemetery, and the other is guard the saltpeter mine. Gaoshu also said, Guardian, the child Gaoshu is right. Since your Gaoshu tribe is willing to take over the tribesmen of the Xiao tribe, then the remaining warriors of the Xiao tribe who can fight must respond to the Gaoshu tribe. Some contributions are enough, so, let Gaoshu stay. Shi Xiong nodded silently. Both the Gaoshu sacrifice and the reasons given by Gaoshu are very strong, and the stone bear is so strong that it doesn't know how to refute it. However, it is also a good thing that they can stay here. With Gaoshu offering sacrifices, the injured tribesmen can get very good rescue, and if Gaoshu is there, they can manage the remaining fighters for themselves. This is what Shi Xiong currently needs. Okay, if this is the case, both of you stay. I hope we can cooperate well, because I also want to avenge those Yuchi people. This time I not only brought food, but also brought arms to be armed. The weapons of 100 soldiers include not only iron but also 100 muskets and corresponding ammunition. Gaoshu sacrifices, and the injured tribesmen in the tribe will be handed over to you. I hope those tribesmen can recover safely. Gaoshu, you choose 100 from the warriors in the tribe, and I need them from now start to practice how to use the muskets. Once they can use muskets proficiently, then even if the Yukai people come back in a sneak attack, we can beat them away." Gaoshu nodded with a smile on the sacrificial face, and Shan excitedly waved his fist and said loudly, "Don't worry, Lord Guardian, I will definitely choose the best fighters to train them to use muskets." Chapter 255, Reconstruction. The members of the Xiao tribe who go to the Gaoshu tribe are voluntary. There is no mandatory requirement that you must go to the Gaoshu tribe. It doesn't matter if you want to go, or if you don't want to stay. Based on this voluntary principle, the Xiao tribe finally decided to go to the Gaoshu tribe. There were more than 240 people, all women and children, including more than 50 children, and the remaining 180 people were all young women. As for the old, weak, sick and disabled, even if they did, they all stayed in the Xiao tribe voluntarily. The people of the Xiao tribe are not fools. They naturally know what the purpose of the Gaoshu tribe is, to lend a helping hand at this time, the population of the Xiao tribe. If it was in the past, the Xiao tribe can ignore it. But now, the Xiao tribe is half disabled, and the remaining supplies in the tribe simply cannot feed so many people. Although these tribesmen can also go back to their previous tribes, they said otherwise. After all, in Chikasha's perception, seclusion is also a kind of betrayal. One of the most critical reasons is that the Chikashas are now being suppressed by the Arkansas and Missourians, and the Yukai are also ready to move. Even if these women and children return to their previous tribes, the end result may not be much better. Now the Gaoshu tribe has extended an olive branch. Although the Gaoshu tribe is a Cherokee, to their secluded tribes, it doesn't matter what Cherokees or Chikashas are, except for their deadly enemies. It doesn't matter where you let them go. Moreover, the Gaoshu tribe is far from the front line of the war, where people live richly, and these women and children will definitely live better than the Xiao tribe when they go there. These women and children are all people who lost their men and relatives in the last war. Although these women and children can also support themselves, where is it better to go to the Gaoshu tribe? Therefore, under the persuasion of Dasan and Gaoshu to worship them, these 240 women and children finally chose to take the 4 armed transport ships to the Gaoshu tribe. In this way, the Xiao tribe is left with less than 350 people. Among these 350 people, there are about 100 fighters who can fight, and most of the remaining 200 people are women and children. Well, they are the families of these fighters. These women and children don't go to the Gaoshu tribe, they have to guard their families. In addition, there are more than 50 old, weak, sick and disabled people. Most of these people were injured in the last war and need to be well raised for a period of time. Even if the Xiao tribe killed 60% of the tribe in the last war, and then more than 200 people went to the Gaoshu tribe, the number of remaining tribes was about the same as the population of the Gaoshu tribe. This is the benefit of a large population. Jiao Naiu is now also serving as the warrior Kukui of the Gaoshu tribe, so this time he also followed. When they came, these 4 ships were pulling a large amount of supplies and weapons, as well as 20 tame bison and 20 elite warriors from the Gaoshu tribe. These soldiers will serve as instructors when they come to the Xiao tribe, teaching Dasan how to use muskets. When Jiao Naiu led the fleet to return, the boat was full of women and children from the Xiao tribe. These women and children, who have never walked out of this valley for almost their entire lives, will go to the Gaoshu tribe and start a better life. After these women and children got on the boat and were taken away, the reconstruction of the Xiao tribe officially began. All the houses burned down in the last war are naturally useless, so these wooden houses need to be flattened. Since there are not so many people in the tribe, there is no need to keep these ruins. In the past, the area of the Xiao tribe was not small, and both the north and south sides of the tribe were repaired to the hillsides on both sides. It was for this reason that Yukai was able to stand on the mountainside and shoot the rocket directly into the Xiao tribe, which caused a big fire and burned a large number of tribesmen. Now that we have learned from the past, we can't do this in this reconstruction of the Xiao tribe. All the wooden houses in the tribe are concentrated in the center of the river valley, The two sides of the replanned tribe are more than 200 meters away from the north and south slopes. Even if the enemy attacks again, it is not enough to stand on the and shoot rockets. Go to the tribe's wooden house. Moreover, the tribal residences replanned this time are all located on the north side of the small river. In this way, even if there is a fire, it can be better to fight the fire near the river. Of course, just pointing at these is not enough. If the Xiao tribe wants to avoid being attacked again, a guard post must be set up. There has been a guard post at the exit of the river valley, and there is more than one, so there is no need to set up a guard post at that location. However, guard posts must also be set up on the mountain peaks on the north and south sides of the tribe and the small road to the east of the tribe. If the Xiao tribe had already set up a guard post on the mountain on the south side, then the last surprise attack by the Yuchi would definitely not cause such a huge casualty. Small-scale enemy sneak attacks are irrelevant to a tribe. Once the number of sneak attacks reaches a certain level, it is almost the rhythm of extermination. The Xiao tribe has learned enough lessons in this regard. So www.wuxiaspa.com guard sentry must be set up. This kind of guard post does not have much alert effect on small-scale sneak attacks, but it has an excellent alert effect on large-scale sneak attacks. These guard posts will be set up on the top of the highest mountain peak around the river valley. Once a large-scale enemy appears, the warriors responsible for guarding the summit will immediately sound the horn, and the warriors and clansmen in the tribe will be alerted. Then decide whether to stand or retreat strategically according to the number of enemies. This is the function of the guard. Just like the current Gaoshu tribe, under the arrangement of the Stone Bear, 7 or 8 guard posts have been set up at the commanding heights around the tribe. The existence of these guard posts is enough to minimize the possibility of a large-scale enemy sneak attack, and at least there will be no situation where the allied forces of the Redditch tribe and the French are on the ground before being discovered. Das Han is the most outstanding warrior and hunter of the Xiao tribe, so he naturally knows where the guard posts are best to set up around the Xiao tribe. Others began to tear down all the useless houses. These wooden houses that were unoccupied or burned out could not be taken. After they were completely knocked down, an isolation zone without any shelter could be set up. From now on, the Xiao tribe will be equivalent to a frontier fortress, and everything will serve militarization. The remaining men of the Xiao tribe did these tasks, and the women and children, under the leadership of the Kausasa sacrifice, began to open up wasteland around the tribe. With 20 tamed bison and new farming tools, the wasteland around the Xiao tribe will soon be opened up. It has not been long before the summer harvest. When the summer harvest is over, more grain will be grown on the newly opened land. Chapter 256, Something Wrong with the Green Skylark. Go and wash the mud on your face, and then quickly drink this pot of polenta while it's hot. As soon as Shi Xiong entered the door, he heard this familiar voice. When his eyes fell on the large pot of black polenta on the stone, his face showed a dumbfounding expression again. The girl in the room, who was still a little pale, looked at Shi Xiong's expression, and her pretty eyes suddenly glared. "Why, I don't want to eat it." "Just forget it, little stone, drink this pot of porridge." "Humphrey, I don't know good people." The stone hammer sitting aside immediately jumped up, like a rabbit with its tail stomped on. "Second sister, you kill me. I would rather let you kill me, and I don't want to taste your craft anymore." "You let Brother Xiong drink the pot of porridge." "So what, Brother Xiong? I still have some work outside to finish. I have to hurry up and finish it. You can drink this pot of porridge." After speaking, the fellow stone seemed to have seen a wolf rabbit, and disappeared without a trace in the room in the blink of an eye. With a glam, a wooden basin containing half a basin of clean water was placed in front of the stone bear. "I love to wash, but I don't want to wash it." "You are still reluctant to wait on you all day long?" "Yes." Shi Xiong smiled helplessly again and shook his head. He took off the long-sleeved gown that had been soaked in sweat on the outside, leaving only the sleeveless vest that was also soaked in sweat on the inside. The clean water in the tub happily scratched his face. A pair of little hands pinched the sweaty long-sleeved gown, threw it into a large tub next to it like disgust, and then said, "Take off that waistcoat in a while. If you don't wash it, there will be maggots inside." "It's Shi Xiong slashed his face, looked at the green skylark standing next to him, and simply took off the vest and threw it into the tub. "Thanks for your hard work." As he said, he bent over and washed his face again. But what he didn't know was that those pretty eyes that were originally full of disgust, when he saw the muscles on the upper body, there was a touch of intoxication in his eyes, and a pretty face became a little red. When Shi Xiong finished washing her face, while slashing her face while walking towards the big rock that served as the dining table, green skylark's eyes hurriedly avoided, and she lowered her head and began to rub the two pieces of clothing in the tub. Said you, this wound is just right, so don't do this work. I will wash it myself when I come back in the evening." Shi Xiong sat down on a small stone, frowning, and said to Green Skylark, "I want you to care." Green Skylark choked without raising his head, and Shi Xiong suddenly smiled bitterly. "This girl doesn't know what's going on. Since she lived here, her nose is not a nose and eyes are not eyes. As long as she has the opportunity, she has to stab herself, and the stone bear doesn't know the end." What is the reason? Shi Xiong knew that this girl had opinions about herself because she was late last time, but the problem is that it was not her fault that she was late. Especially after so many days. This girl still this looks like, what is it going to do? But you have to say that this girl has opinions on herself, but she cooks and washes herself every day, and she is quite comfortable waiting for her. Although the taste of this meal is indeed hard to swallow, it is a bite of hot rice after all. This is hot and cold. What is it going to do? Shi Xiong picked up the black polenta and smiled bitterly again. Said Little Skylark, "you can cook this polenta, and I really take it. Well, you won't be cooking in the future, okay? What do you and Little Rock want to eat? I'll come back and make it for you. Promise let you both like it." Let me tell you, if this polenta is to be cooked, the most important thing is that it must be stirred frequently, otherwise the polenta will be battered after a while. "Are you going to eat?" The girl doing laundry raised her head and asked without angrily, "You still pick and choose to make you a hot meal? Got it, this really can't be offended. Eat. Why don't you eat it? If you don't eat it, wouldn't you betray your kindness?" Shi Xiong said cheerfully. A faint smile flashed across the face of the girl who had just bowed her head. But when he lowered his head and saw the black polenta again, the cheerful stone bear suddenly became a bitter stone bear. This girl is also a weird girl, good in other aspects, except for cooking. It is really a rolling pin and blowing fire, and I don't know anything about it. The best polenta can be boiled into a battered polenta, and it's like this for several days, but she didn't mean to boil it. In the words of a small stone, my second sister did it when she cooked the porridge. Very attentive. You can cook it like this, grandma, with your heart. What if you don't use it? Anyway, Shi Xiong dare not imagine. But let's not say that although this polenta is battered, it doesn't have a taste, especially the corn paste that was supposed to stick to the bottom of the pot. Although it is a bit dark, the taste is still quite fragrant. The stone bear is big, consumes a lot, and naturally has a small appetite. If this pot of polenta was replaced by green skylark, her sister and brother would drink it, enough for her sister and brother to drink for a day. A tub the same size as a modern laundry tub filled with polenta. And it's not just polenta. www.wuxiasput.com. After seeing the stone bear start to gulp the porridge, the girl stood up to shake off the water stains on her hand, and then walked to the corner of the house and took out one. The wooden basin contains a large piece of smoked venison and a few plates of marinated wild vegetables. There are a lot of wild vegetables in the Great Smoky Mountains in summer, and the tender can pinch the water, walk around on the hillside and come back slowly with a basket of wild vegetables. The Zio tribe is not short of salt, and these fresh and tender wild vegetables are naturally pickled into pickles. When drinking porridge, these small pickles are used, and the taste should not be too beautiful. Don't just drink the porridge. There are vegetables here. The venison is roasted by Das Han brother and delivered in the morning. The pickles are pickled by myself. You can eat more if you like, Green Skylark said as he put the tub on the table on that big rock. Well, thank you. Shi Xiong squeezed a handful of pickles and put it in his mouth, chewing it. said Little Skylark. "If your porridge cooking skill is half as good as your pickles pickling skill, that would be great. Well, the pickles are delicious." Hearing the first half of the sentence, Green Skylark's eyebrows went up and down on the spot. However, as soon as the second half of the sentence came out, the corner of the girl's mouth immediately tugged up, and there was a sense of satisfaction in her eyes, and she squatted in front of the tub and continued to rub the two closed. It's weird to say that the girl Green Skylark has a terrible feeling whether she is making porridge or cooking, but she is very good at pickling pickles. Although this girl had never pickled pickles before, after Shi Xiong told her how to pickle pickles, this girl had no idea how to pickle pickles. The pickled pickles were crisp and delicious. Others don't know if they like to eat stone bears, but this bite is very to his taste. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257, Scout. Busy days always make people feel that they are passing quickly, plus the usual adjustments of the girl like Green Skylark, and Depp and Sheila, so Shi Xiong didn't feel anything about it. And 1 month passed. 1 month's time is enough to make the Xiao tribe change a lot. The old and useless wooden houses were all torn down. The original huge Xiao tribe, which occupied most of the river valley, left only a small wooden house along the river. A large area of isolation belt was established in this way. Corresponding guard posts were also set up on the commanding heights around the river valley, and soldiers took their dogs to guard posts every day. In short, after more than a month of busy work, the Xiao tribe has come out of that lifeless atmosphere. And with the arrival of the strawberry moon, June, the entire Xiao tribe revealed a kind of vitality, because this not only means that the northern hemisphere begins to enter the midsummer, but also announces the arrival of the annual summer harvest. Although North American Indians are not very proficient in planting, the crops that live in the northern hemisphere are planted and harvested at roughly the same time. Therefore, even if the Indians do not cultivate intensively, they still have summer and autumn harvests every year. Unlike the Gaoshu tribe, the Xiao tribe has begun to enter the stage of intensive cultivation and new cultivation. The current cultivation of the Xiao tribe is still in a very primitive and rough cultivation stage. Well, it is no different from the Gaoshu tribe last year. Therefore, even if the Xiao tribe opened up a lot of farmland, and the enemy hardly destroyed the farmland in the last war, Shi Xiong did not expect this primitive and rough farming method to harvest much food. Just like the wheat that the Xiao tribe grows at the end of February every year, it can be harvested in mid-June. But this kind of gain is really better than nothing. The average yield per mu of land is less than 100 caddies or even 70 to 80 caddies. How much wheat can you expect to harvest? There is also corn, not to mention. The ghost knows what the people who taught them to plant these crops thought at the beginning, and plant them blindly without even knowing the best time to plant them. It would be strange if the harvest was good. Take wheat as an example. It's not wheat without spring sown. It's called spring wheat, but spring wheat is usually sown in March and April, and harvested in July and August. And most of the areas where spring wheat is grown are in the colder north. Like the latitude where the Xiao tribe is located, it is best to plant winter wheat honestly. As a result, the people of the Xiao tribe have grown this way over the years. Plant seeds in spring, harvest one season in summer, then plant seeds, and harvest another season in late autumn. And basically no matter what the seeds are planted, no one is doing watering and weeding. In this way of farming, they are lucky enough to be able to get the seeds back. Fortunately, there are high-yield potatoes at the right planting time, and fortunately there are potatoes, otherwise the people of the Xiao tribe would be hungry every year. In the past, the Xiao tribe was not pointed out by anyone. Now Shi Xiong is here, and Shi Xiong intends to develop this place into a bridgehead for the westward advance, so it is also very necessary to establish a food base here. It is not time to plant spring grains, and there is no intensive cultivation, but summer grains can no longer be like this. Shi Xiong brought a lot of summer grain seeds this time, including rice crops. The planting environment of the Xiao tribe is better than that of the Gaoshu tribe, and the Xiao tribe is located in a valley. The temperature is higher than outside, and there is a river with plenty of water, so it is no problem to grow rice here. In addition, there are corn, cotton, soybeans and other crops. Although peanuts have passed the optimal planting time, planting is not impossible now, so Shi Xiong ordered the women in the tribe to also plant peanuts. Because the stone bear brought 20 tamed bisons when he came, with these bull demon kings, it was easier to open up wasteland and sow more than half of the time. However, Shi Xiong didn't need to do these tasks himself. All he had to do was to instruct these tribes to use the most correct method to sow summer grain. At this time, good news came from the Gaoshu tribe. After an intense harvest, the Gaoshu tribe got a bumper harvest. Whether it is winter wheat or potatoes, the yield is better than expected. The high yield of the Gaoshu tribe made Shi Xiong completely relieved. Grain is the foundation of development, and if there is a high yield of food, then all the following plans can be carried out step by step. Along with the good news of the high yield of the Gaoshu tribe, several warriors of the Xiao tribe finally successfully returned to the Xiao tribe. The reason why Shi Xiong was able to tell Han, Gaoshu sacrifices, and the hatred Xiao tribe to develop well, rebuild the Xiao tribe and plant food vigorously, is not because he brought food to the Xiao tribe and also received Xiao people of the tribe. That's because on the first day of returning to the Xiao tribe, the stone bear announced loudly in front of all the surviving members of the Xiao tribe, "I will take you to avenge, but this will take time, but the longest will not exceed half a year." www.wuxiasput.com. You can get revenge in the shortest possible 3 months. It is precisely because Shi Xiong made such a guarantee, and he did so the tribe of Xiao tribe regarded him as the true leader. On the first night of returning to the Xiao tribe, Shi Xiong consulted Han and asked him to find out who was the best at spying on intelligence among the surviving warriors of the Xiao tribe. As a result, Da Shan did not live up to Shi Xiong's request, and called Nighthawk to Shi Xiong that night. Nighthawk is a man in his 30s, and this age is considered an advanced person among North American Indians. It was indeed the case. Nighthawk originally had a very happy family with all his children, grandchildren and grandchildren. As a result, all his family members died under Yuchiren's butcher's knife during that war. When Nighthawk saw the mutilated corpse of the family, the man almost went crazy on the spot. Therefore, when Shi Xiong said that he needed someone to go to Yuchiren's site to investigate Yuchiren's situation, Nighthawk agreed without hesitation, and he also selected 4 other soldiers from the remaining Xiao soldiers. They totaled 5. Riding on the horses brought by the stone bear, he climbed the Great Washan Mountain and went straight to Yuchiren. Those damned Yukai people retreated in a hurry. Even if half a month has passed since they attacked us when we acted, we can still easily find the traces left by the Yukai people in the valley. So I walked along the river valley along those traces, and easily climbed over the Great Smoky Mountains. Nighthawk had an uncontrollable smile on his face. Obviously, this time they went out to investigate the situation of Yukai. The effect should be very good, otherwise this man full of hatred would not smile so brilliantly. Who can be unhappy seeing the vengeance is about to be paid? Chapter 258, Chaos Yuchi. No wonder Yukai can sneak attack us so easily. If we don't walk this way in person, I don't know how easy it is to reach us from Yukai's site. Nighthawk's eyes flashed with hatred. Is the road easy to walk? This is the blue fog. How can it be easy to walk? Shi Xiong asked a little unbelievably. The mountain range in which the Great Smoky Mountains is located can be said to have the highest average elevation in the entire Appalachian Mountains, and the rivers in this mountain range are crisscrossing, and the road here is definitely not easy to walk just thinking about it. My Lord Guardian, what I said is true. I used to think that the blue fog in the south is difficult to walk, but when I really walked back and forth, I realized that the facts were not as difficult as I thought. I just need go straight along the valley of the Hayworth River. When you reach the end, you will reach the valley of another river after you climb over a not-so-high mountain peak. Then continue along this valley. Not far away, you can reach the place where the Yuchiren's palace is located. The entire road is not difficult, Only when approaching the Yuchiren Palace, there is a section of the river valley that is very steep and difficult to walk, but if you walk on the mountains on both sides of the valley, the road is not counted hard to go. Seeing what Nighthawk said with great certainty, Shi Xiong realized that he had made the mistake of pony crossing the river. In fact, despite the fact that the average altitude of this section of the Great Smoky Mountains is the highest in the entire Appalachian Mountains, its average altitude is only about 1,000 meters, except for a few peaks that can exceed the altitude at 1,700 meters. Most of the other peaks are about 1,000 meters high. Moreover, the Great Smoky Mountains are the watershed between the Tennessee River system and the Savannah River system. The place where the Yuchi's royal court is located is approximately near Anderson in the later South Carolina, close to the Savannah River. Since the Great Smoky Mountains are the watershed of the two major water systems, as long as you walk upstream along the Hayworthy River, and then cross the watershed at the end, you can really reach a tributary of the Savannah River. As long as you find a tributary of the Savannah River, you will inevitably reach the seat of the Yuchi King's court. It's just that Nighthawk's life is so good that you can find Yuchiren's royal court just by looking for it. If you have any questions in your mind, you will naturally ask. Yes, Master Guardian, some of us indeed touched the place where the Yukai man's royal court was located. When we secretly observed from a high place, we also saw that the Yukai man's royal court was holding a funeral for their chief, the little pipe guy. I mixed in with the appearance of a Yuchi, confirming that the Yuchi was indeed holding a funeral for their chief. The chief of the Yuchi was shot to death by you and the Zio tribe. There are also the tribal leaders of the 7 largest tribes of the Yuchi. I was shot to death by you on that day too. Nighthawk slapped a small flattery along the way. The little pipe that Nighthawk said, he knew. This guy is a strange flower in the Zio tribe. He is obviously a big man in his early 20s, but he is very, very tender, and this guy has a body shape, very skinny, and a little bit of it looks like a teenage boy. This guy has liked smoking pipes since he was a child, so he got the nickname of a small pipe. Nighthawk lets the small pipe dress up as a child of the Yuchi tribe and enters the court of the Yuchi king. Naturally, he can inquire a lot of news. Who would be so wary of a child? Shi Xiong smiled and said, I lost money by shooting these guys. The arrows I crafted were suddenly lost by 8. I used all these arrows smoothly. If I change to a new one, I'm not used to using them. Nighthawk also laughed, although he didn't understand what pretending is. Shi Xiong's casual pretending this time obviously made Nighthawk also amused. The Guardian Sama's big bow and the steel arrow are indeed powerful, but no matter how powerful they are, it can't be worth a human life, right? Not to mention the chiefs of the Yuchi people and the leaders of the 7 largest tribes who died under those 8 arrows. After laughing for a while, Nighthawk said sternly, Master Guardian, according to what we know, Yukai is very uneasy now. Their chief Umezio was shot by you with 1 arrow, and the 7 largest tribes of Yukai, the leader of also died too suddenly, which caused the Yuchi to appear in chaos. Many powerful Yuchi want to be the new chief of Umezio. Even if not, it is very good to be the leader of a tribe. So now Yuchi is like that. It's messy. Shi Xiong nodded slightly. In fact, since knowing that he had killed the chief of Yukai with 8 arrows and the leaders of the 7 tribes, Shi Xiong knew that Yukai would not be stable for at least half a year. In this era without any constraints, the transfer of power has always been a very important thing. However, the sudden death of such a leader will inevitably cause confusion in the transfer of power. Don't think that the Indians do not know how to fight for power when they are ignorant and backward. On the contrary, the more ignorant and backward tribes are, the fiercer the struggle for power will be. Anyway, since Shi Xiong came to this era, www.wuxiaspa.com. It can be said that he has a deep understanding of the struggle for power. Among other things, the nasty things that happened between him and Li Lei are enough to prove how much people in this era value power. Originally, Shi Xiong didn't have any idea of fighting for power, but Li Lei didn't think so. He always thought that Shi Xiong wanted to fight for power, so he targeted Shi Xiong everywhere. In the end, he collapsed. This is the identity of the stone bear against the son of the god and the guardian of the high priest of Kaburu. Li Lei is still like this. If someone else dares to do this, Li Lei might have killed that person and threw that person into the wilderness long ago. Feed the wolf in it. This is true for the Gaoshu tribe, and even more so for the more ignorant and backward Yukai people. Originally, a large army was dispatched to capture a large number of materials and population. As a result, the chief and the tribal leader were killed. Not only did the expected materials and population fail to obtain, there was a huge vacuum in the power of the entire tribe. Whether it is Chief Umezia or the leaders of the 7 tribes, they are all in the same year. They did not designate their heirs. Now they suddenly die. Those who feel that they have the ability to inherit these positions are not all seen. Eyes stared like a meaty wolf, raised his paws, opened his mouth to show sharp teeth. Whoever dared to grab, and who didn't say anything, just fight with someone. There is only one seat. If you grab it, you can go to the pinnacle of life from then on. If you can't get it, there is naturally nowhere to go. Therefore, it is not surprising that the entire Yuchi clan is now extremely chaotic and naturally. Nighthawk, you guys take a good rest for a few days, and then tidy up the route you have taken. After the tribe's food is planted, if you have the courage, I will take you to the Yuchi people. King Court. Chapter 259, Litter Thing. Stone Xiong has always been a person who talks and counts, especially after he has passed through this era and became the guardian of Kabru High Priest. As long as it is spoken, it is a nail on the board, and a spit star hits the ground and it is a pit. So 10 days later, 2 inland river armed transport ships once again appeared at the mouth of the valley where the Zio tribe was located. This time the 2 boats brought nothing else but a total of 20 tamed bison and a total of 40 sets of packs. These kits were specially made by the old wooden family, specially for these tame bison. And not long after the arrival of the 2 ships, another 60 fighters from the High Tree tribe came on the path that Stone Bear had walked on. These fighters came over on horseback. Whether it was these 2 ships or the 60 soldiers of the High Tree tribe, they were all here to send mounts to the Stone Bear. Jiao Naiu and Shi Xiong gave a big hug after they met. Jiao Naiu smiled and said, "Little Stone, I sent you all the things you want. The Kabul sacrifice is very supportive of your actions. She almost gave the tribe all the horses and here have been sent to you." The Black Stone Bear laughed happily. With his laughter, the bear tattooed on his chest seemed to be alive, looking extremely mighty. "Uncle, you have worked hard. Come, we will have a bonfire dinner in a while. Let's have a good meal together." They are all 5 big and 3 thick guys. Naturally they don't have any problems like this, and the guardian sir treats guests, which is a good thing. So, when night fell, a raging bonfire burned in a clearing near the small river of the Zio tribe. More than a dozen bonfires illuminated the place like daylight. Almost all the people of the Zio tribe joined in. Jiao Naiu, the warriors of the High Tree tribes led by them are naturally also unstoppable. The warriors of the Zio tribe headed by Das Han all know what these warriors from the Gaoshu tribe are doing here, and they are kind to give them their mounts. That's right. After Shi Xiong learned about Yuchiren's current situation from Nighthawk's mouth that day, he immediately asked Das Han to find a warrior, and then rode a horse to the Gaoshu tribe with his token. Now that the warriors of the Zio tribe had promised to take them to avenge, the Stone Bear immediately began to gather his mounts. Since it is going to find Yuchiren's troubles on Yuchiren's territory, mobility is absolutely indispensable. Otherwise, relying on the 1-to-1 past to make trouble for others, it is not revenge, it is death. So the war horse is essential. Only when all the warriors who went to the Yukai people had their mounts could Shi Xiong be sure to bring them all back safely. Otherwise, with 100 soldiers, only 10 people will come back. It would be better not to go. And this past revenge, Shi Xiong has already set up a sufficiently detailed plan to constantly harass Yuchiren by virtue of his mobility. Once the situation is right, he will come to a ruthless one. Anyway, he will definitely not go head-to-head with Yuchiren's army. In summary, it is the 16-character policy of Taizui's guerrilla warfare. Only after that war, the mounts of the Zio tribe were few and far between, and only 3 war horses remained. Naturally, Shi Xiong couldn't see the horse with such a small amount of war horse, so Shi Xiong asked Gaoshu tribe for help. The Gaoshu tribe originally had less than 20 war horses. Later, when it captured major armament, it also captured 7 war horses. Then 36 war horses were blackmailed at the Akron fortress. Finally, Major Hank came to trade salt for the second time. At the time, he brought another 20 war horses, so the Gaoshu tribe now has more than 80 war horses in total. Originally, the Stone Bear wanted to bring all these more than 80 war horses over. As a result, out of the more than 80 war horses, 20 mares were pregnant, so the Gaoshu tribe could only produce 60 war horses. That's right, under the guidance of Stone Bear, the Gaoshu tribe is now starting to breed war horses by itself, and the 20 mares are a good start. 60 war horses are definitely not enough to count, so the Stone Bear can only retreat and ask for 30 tamed bison from the Gaoshu tribe. In this way, count the 20 tamed bison in the Zio tribe. In total, there are 50 bison and 63 war horses. Among them, 10 bison are specially used to carry ammunition and food supplies. This figure has met Shi Xiong's requirements. These tamed bisons don't look like they are usually slow, but once they are stimulated, the bison will not run any slower than the horses. The most important thing is that the weight of the bison is heavier. Stone Bear commissioned Jack Williams and the others to make some gadgets that can be taken apart to allow these bison to carry on. Whenever these gadgets are needed to show off their power, just assemble them to face the enemy. Therefore, having these 50 tamed bisons is actually not a bad thing. Anyway, what they have to deal with is not a large group of enemies. Just pick a soft pinch on the persimmon. If there are too many enemies, let's turn our heads and run away. If there are few enemies, let's just roll up our sleeves. An ultra long-range attack, with a Stone Bear's longbow, is enough to shoot any important target at a distance of 300 meters. www.wuxiaspa.com for mid-range combat. There are 100 new muskets and bows and arrows carried by soldiers. Fighting at close range is almost non-existent. Yes, for this revenge action, the 2 armed transport ships also brought 100 Ferguson rifles produced by the Gaoshu tribe. The 100 rifles seized from the French were used to train the soldiers of the Zio tribe how to use the rifles. Once they enter the real combat period, they naturally need to use new rifles with a longer range and higher accuracy. Shi Xiong's plan this time is to use the Mongols' ranger tactics to keep a distance from the enemy, and use his own superior long-range attack power to disintegrate the enemy. Try not to fight close to the enemy, so that you can avoid a lot of indifferent sacrifices. No matter what tactics are used, as long as they can effectively save themselves from killing the enemy, that is a good tactic. Of course, if he is really trapped by the enemy's large forces, Shi Xiong is not afraid. One is that the firing range of the new musket is not a little bit longer than the firing range of the bows and arrows in the hands of the Indians, and this post-loading rifled gun can also allow soldiers to reload in a lying posture, which greatly improves the safety. Not to mention this attack, everyone also divided to earthen grenades. The second key reason is the 5 sets of gadgets brought by Jiao Naiu. With these 5 sets of gadgets, Shi Xiong dared to bet that even if he was surrounded by 500 people or more, he would be able to bring these fighters to break through. In this era, this kind of gizmo has never appeared before. Once it is really used in actual combat, light scaring can scare the gang of turtles stupid. In fact, one of the actions against the Yuchi was for revenge, and the other was to detect the effects of the weapons made by the Gaoshu tribe in actual combat. Chapter 260, Little Skylark and number 039:S Barbecue. Guardian, you must pay attention to your safety when you go to avenge the Yuchi this time. The Kabulu priest has always cared about you. All the people in our Gaoshu tribe are worried about you, so you must not present any danger, the Feet said sincerely. Not long after becoming the leader of the Gaoshu tribe, Dejiao followed Jiao Naiu to the Zio tribe. This time, he came here not only to send various supplies to the Stone Bear, but the most important thing was to attack the Yuchi people this time. He and Jiao Naiu follow the past to observe closely. Regarding the plan of rapid expansion proposed by the Guardian, the high-level leaders of the entire Gaoshu tribe, except for Lile and Wolf Tail, all agreed very much. and this time going to Yuchiren's site to find trouble is the best opportunity to prove this rapid expansion plan. As the new tribal leader of the Gaoshu tribe, although Bigfoot doesn't understand what talking about soldiers on paper is, he understands that no matter how beautiful his mouth is, it is not as good as cutting a knife or shooting an arrow in actual combat. The Guardian's rapid expansion plan is indeed very exciting, and the prospects are indeed very wonderful, but whether this plan will work or not, it needs to be tested by actual combat. The chaotic Yuchiren gives Shi Xiong a chance to verify this plan. I can't get a large group of troops now, but it's okay for me to lead a small group of troops. Besides, don't think I am bullied if there are few people. After we have the weapons that lead this era, this 100 people is actually a steel hedgehog. Whoever dares to get forward has to pierce his mouth. Uncle, Bigfoot, don't just remind me, you have to follow along this time, Shi Xiong said with a smile. Haha, as long as I follow you, I never worry about my own safety, Jiao Naiu, don't you think? Jiao Naiu smiled and gestured a thumbing at his Bigfoot. Das Han on the side said, Bigfoot leader, Uncle Jiao Naiu, with the Guardian by our side, we really don't have to worry about our safety. If we have problems with the Guardian by our side, we can only say that we are too stupid. Several people laughed loudly. Green Sky Lark twisted Xiaomin's waist and walked over with a large wooden plate in his hand. He smiled at Jiao Naiu and Bigfoot. Uncle Jiao Naiu, Uncle Bigfoot, try the best barbecued meat in our tribe, Amen. Aunt's roasted meat, Amen's roasted beef is the best in our tribe. She specially roasted a plate of meat for you. Hearing the name Amen, Shi Xiong's Adam's apple couldn't help but move up and down a few times. Amen is a woman from the Zhao tribe. She is in her 30s this year. She is the wife of the warrior Shan Hao of the Zhao tribe. She and her 2 children died under Yuchi's rocket. During this period of time, the mountain fire was busy training, and Amen was responsible for taking care of the soldiers' food. Amen's barbecue skills are quite strong. If it weren't for Lan Xiang in this era, Shi Xiong would really think she had graduated from Lan Xiang. In the past, Amen barbecue was grilled in large chunks, but after Shi Xiong brought the form of kebabs to the Zhao tribe, Amen barbecue began to change from large pieces of meat to skewers. But even if it changed, the skewers she grilled are still very delicious. Even if the seasoning is only the simplest salt, the meat she grilled tastes different from others. Shi Xiong also likes to eat barbecued meat made by Amen. Seeing that Green Sky Lark brought a large wooden plate of Amen's grilled meat skewers, Shi Xiong wanted to reach out to taste the skewers, but as soon as he reached out, he was slapped severely by Green Sky Lark. Eat this, I grilled it, Green Sky Lark said as he conjured a large string of meat skewers from the bottom of the big wooden plate. When Shi Xiong saw it, his face suddenly became as bitter as he had eaten Huanglian. Feet, Jiao Naiu, and Das Han immediately turned their heads to one side, and the suffocation called a hard work. Amen's grilled meat skewers are tender on the outside and tender on the inside. The oily look makes people appetite, but what is the name of the green lark grilled? It's a lump with a squishy smell. If it weren't confirmed that this was a barbecue, at first glance, I thought it was a lump, or a kind of diarrhea. Shi Xiong swallowed dryly and looked at Green Sky Lark with a bitter face and said, Little Sky Lark, are you sure you want me to eat this? Why, do you have an opinion? Green Sky Lark seemed to have expected Stone Xiong to say this, so she raised her head proudly and squinted at Stone Xiong and asked, You are most likely to be dog-biting Lu Dongbin. Shi Xiong was asked without fuck by these simple 6 words. Das Han suppressed a smile and drawled, Guardian, eat. This is the Little Sky Lark specially baked for you. We just want to eat it but can't eat it. Shi Xiong almost slapped the big wooden plate on Das Han's face. He wanted to shout to Das Han, You want to eat you. But, he couldn't do that. He could only take the barbecue grilled by Green Sky Lark with a dry smile. Eat it all. I'll bake it for you after eating it for a while. With that, the girl at Hu reading www.hukanshu.com turned Xiaomin's waist and left here. When the girl walked far away, the 3 unscrupulous old men could no longer hold back, and laughed happily. The one who laughed was called a wave. Shi Xiong silently grabbed a string of black meat skewers and stuffed it into his mouth fiercely. Huh? Not to mention that the roasted meat tastes good, except that it is a bit mushy, in addition to the old roast, and except that the skewers are smoked and the color is a little scary, the taste of the skewers is really good. Seeing Master Guardian eating the black barbecue enthusiastically, the elders laughed low again. Although Das Han and Jiao Niu hadn't been here for a long time, who were they? They had already seen what's wrong with Clark. Das Han was also a person who came here. He had been in the Xiao tribe longer, and he had naturally seen green sky larks' thoughts a long time ago. It was the silly head of Master Guardian who didn't understand what the girl meant. Well, his heart was filled with Bai Yun's girl. He couldn't tolerate other people. But none of the three of them dared to mention this to Shi Xiong. The three of them are not stupid. If this is mentioned at this time, it is estimated that the Guardian Lord's casserole-sized fist can beat their out. This kind of thing is not something that outsiders can mix with. What kind of development will it develop? Let them do it by themselves. Come on, let's drink. The wine brewed by the Guardian is really delicious, much stronger than the wine brewed by Vasiku. Das Han changed the subject decisively. The old gentleman again picked up the wooden bowl and touched it, and then drank half a bowl of wine as soon as they raised their heads. Jiuxing was in full swing, and some tribesmen of Xiao tribe also took advantage of Jiuxing to start dancing around the bonfire, and the atmosphere of the entire bonfire dinner rose again. Chapter 261, Obey Orders. Seeing the 100 fully armed soldiers in front of him, Shi Xiong felt proud in his heart. This is definitely fully armed, even those regular British or French troops. I'm afraid they don't have as many weapons as the soldiers in front of them. Each of these 100 soldiers carried a Ferguson rifle, and the ammunition bag they carried was equipped with enough ammunition to fire 300 rounds. In addition, each soldier is also equipped with 2 earthen hand grenades and fire zipper. Each warrior is also equipped with a bow made of stainless steel. Although this bow is far less than Shikama's own large bow, it has a much longer range than the bow they used before. This kind of bow is equipped with an arrow made of oak, and the arrow is made of stainless steel. It is enough to shoot the arrow up to 150 meters away after the bow is opened. This bow has a longer range than the bow and arrow commonly used by Indians today, doubled. In addition to firearms and bows, each of them is also equipped with a 1-meter-long mountain knife made of stainless steel. In front of this kind of mountain knife, bone spears, bone knives, and so on are useless, and one cut ensures that those weapons such as bone spears and bone knives become 2 pieces. As for defense, everyone has a large wooden shield that is more than 1 meter high and half a meter wide and covered with a layer of iron. In the case that the enemy does not have a musket, this wooden shield covered with the layer of iron is sufficient to withstand the enemy's arrows and thrown bone spears, and this big wooden shield can also form a shield wall more than 2 meters high when necessary. Excellent defense. There are muskets and bows in the long range, powerful grenades in the mid-range, mountain knives in the short range, and wooden shields for defense. These fighters are armed to the teeth. 70 of the 100 fighters who are about to go on the expedition braved murderous orders. Needless to say, these are the surviving fighters of the Xiao tribe. Although the murderous intent of the remaining 30 soldiers was much weaker, they seemed to be more capable. This time I went to the Yuchi territory to find trouble, or revenge. The Xiao tribe and the Gaoshu tribe formed an expeditionary army composed of 100 warriors, of which 70 warriors were more than 100 soldiers who survived the Xiao tribe. The other 30 fighters selected were from the Gaoshu tribe. The people of the Xiao tribe were puzzled by the arrangement of Lord Guardian. Obviously the soldiers of our Xiao tribe went out to avenge. What do you Gaoshu tribe come to mix with? Moreover, your Gaoshu tribe not only dispatched 30 elite fighters, but also your tribal leaders to join in this expedition. Although buddies are very grateful for your help, it's better to get revenge for this kind of thing by yourself, isn't it? Not only the soldiers of the Xiao tribe didn't understand, but even Das Han was a little confused. 63 war horses and 40 tamed bison can send a maximum of 103 fighters out. If this amount is all given to the Xiao tribe, then almost all surviving warriors of the Xiao tribe can participate in this expedition. But if the Gaoshu tribe mixed up, the Xiao tribe could only give up 30 places. Although there are 10 other tamed bisons free, the 10 bisons are specially used to carry ammunition and food supplies and cannot be occupied. No one wanted revenge. Everyone wanted to kill their enemies with their own hands, but Lord Guardian insisted that the warriors of the Gaoshu tribe should participate, and in the end the warriors of the Xiao tribe could only recognize it. No way, the Xiao tribe can have the current situation, which is almost all done by the Guardian. Although this tall fierce man is the guardian of the Gaoshu tribe, he is also the guardian of the Xiao tribe. Das Han once asked Shi Xiong why he wanted the Gaoshu tribe to participate. Shi Xiong gave him a clear and irrefutable answer: you want revenge, and the Gaoshu tribe will expand, and this expedition happens to be able to meet the requirements of the two tribes. The warriors of the Gaoshu tribe participated in this expedition to test the expansion plan I proposed. Therefore, the warriors of the Gaoshu tribe must join in this expedition. Of course, if you really disagree, they can also withdraw. Da Shan is not stupid, he naturally knows what Master Guardian means, so he took the initiative to talk to the warriors in the tribe, and finally moved 30 warriors to voluntarily give up the expedition quota. My people, Shi Xiong stood on a stone platform, and the two tribes were closely linked when he opened his address. Yes, the soldiers who will be expedition with me today are all members of my tribe, and they are the closest tribesmen who can give each other their backs. Although you may not know each other before, from today onwards, you must remember my words. You are the closest people from today. Do you understand? The 100 soldiers underneath roared in unison. Understood. Okay, remember what you just said, always remember. Shi Xiong nodded in satisfaction. More than a month ago, our tribe was attacked by the despicable Yuchi. My love and your relatives died in that attack. Therefore, we must take revenge. The blood debt can only be repaid with blood! Vengeance, revenge, revenge. The soldiers shouted again in unison. Shi Xiong raised his right fist high, and the soldiers suddenly closed their voices and looked at the Guardian Lord. No, it's not so easy for us to take revenge this time. The 100 of us are about to face a tribe with a population of 7,000 or 8,000, not a tribe. Therefore, what we are facing this time is the danger will be great. Master Guardian, we are not afraid. We want revenge. A strong soldier below roared. Shi Xiong knew him. He was a famous warrior of the Xiao tribe, named Great Axe. He has great power, each with a huge stone axe in both hands, and it becomes a human-shaped meat grinder when rushing. In the recent attack www.wuxiaspot.com, his whole family died under Yukai's butcher's knife, and he also killed more than a dozen Yukai soldiers in that war. Even his both stone axes were chopped and broken, and he himself suffered serious injuries. This is a very powerful fighter in close combat. For this expedition, Shi Xiong specially built a pair of steel axes for him. Although they were not as big as the two stone axes he used before, they were much more powerful. The giant axe also liked this pair of steel axes very much. Shi Xiong pointed at the giant axe and smiled, and then said, I know that you all have the same determination and courage as the giant axe, but you have to understand that you have to remember that the first thing we must ensure when we go to avenge this time is ourselves. Security. If we can't even protect our own security, what can we take to avenge? Would you like to watch your enemy be killed by other brothers instead of dying in your hands? The soldiers shook their heads in unison. Obviously, they were more willing to kill their enemies with their own hands. So, during this expedition, you must strictly obey my orders. I let you charge, even if there are 1,000 enemies ahead, then you must charge without hesitation. But if I ask you to withdraw, so even if there are only a few enemies in front, you should retreat without hesitation, instead of defying orders to kill those enemies. Shi Xiong's words made these fighters a little confused, and they couldn't figure out why the Guardian said that. Shi Xiong saw the look on their faces, and knew that this kind of thing would not be able to make them fully understand in a short while. Fortunately, It takes a long way to reach the Yuchi people from the Xiao tribe. It takes at least 7 or 8 days to climb the greater Washan mountain. Taking advantage of this time, they can fully understand how obeying orders is one thing. Chapter 262, Tactics. The four of Shi Xiong, Dajiao, Jiaoniu, and Das Han stood on the top of a small hill, taking turns looking at the Yuchi tribe in the small valley below with their binoculars. Behind this stone bear is a red-brown horse. This horse is called Huofeng. It is the horse that Baiyan rode on when the stone bear first encountered a white cloud in the wilderness. Before the expedition, Green Sky Lark delivered the horse to Stone Bear. "This is my sister's horse. It belongs to me now. I will give you Huofeng. You have to treat it well. Also, you must bring the Huofeng back safely, otherwise." Green Sky Lark pretended to be vicious. The demeanor of waving a small fist seemed to be in front of him. Huofeng is much stronger than the horse that Stone Bear seized from Major Armand before, and this horse is Baiyan's mount before his death, and now Stone Bear wants to ride it to avenge Baiyan. "Guardian, if I read correctly, this Yuchi tribe should have participated in that attack. Some of the things hanging in front of the wooden houses of this tribe belong to our Xiao tribe." Das Han put down what he was holding. The telescope said to Shi Xiong very surely. Shi Xiong looked at Bigfoot and Jiaoniu. They nodded slightly, but did not speak. Shi Xiong turned his head and said to Das Han, "Tell my brothers to be prepared. The old rules are that 30 fighters of the Gaoshu tribe are cruising around to prevent enemies from escaping. The 70 fighters of the Xiao tribe will not be like the first 2. I was so messy and told them to keep a distance from the enemy. We have the superiority of weapons and there is no need to fight the enemy in close quarters." "I understand," Das Han said, then turned and walked towards the dense forest not far behind. In that dense forest, the 100 People's soldiers were ready to go. "This is the third Yuchi tribe that I have encountered along the way. The 2 tribes I have encountered before are smaller than this one, which is just right for these fighters to train their troops." This group of hateful fighters also performed very well, except for a little confusion when they attacked the small tribe of Yuchi. The situation was much better when they attacked the second tribe. This is also inevitable. After all, these warriors used to live in reclusive tribes, and they hate war. Otherwise they would not go to the Xiao tribe to live in seclusion. But this expedition is not a real war, they are here to take revenge. So when they fought the first Yuchi tribe, it was inevitable for them to have chaos. A total of 70 heavily armed Xiao tribe warriors attacked a small tribe with only 60 or 70 people. This was almost like killing chickens with a sledgehammer. But even so, the warriors who attacked other tribes for the first time still had a lot of confusion and mistakes that shouldn't be made. Fortunately, 30 elite fighters from the Gaoshu tribe swept around, and the Stone Bears took the lead. These chaos did not cause any fatal mistakes, and eventually the small tribe was killed without any risk. Since it is here to take revenge, as long as the situation permits, it is natural to keep the dogs and the chickens alone. How did the Yuchi treat the Xiao tribe in the first place? How will the surviving warriors treat the Yuchi tribe? The first attack on the Yuchi tribe ended in a complete victory. The small tribe was slaughtered and clean, while only 5 warriors from the Xiao tribe were slightly closer to the enemy due to chaos, and they were finally attacked by the enemy's bows and arrows. And the bone spear was shot. But the injury is not serious, just some skin injuries. But the injuries of these fighters also made the other fighters fully understand how necessary it is to keep a distance from the enemy. These weapons they equip have a crushing advantage when facing the almost primitive Yuchi weapons. Whether it is power or range, they are far beyond what Yuchi's weapons can match. Therefore, as long as you keep a sufficient distance from the Yukai people, it is almost equivalent to a unilateral massacre. Shi Xiong told them countless times during the previous march. It's just that they haven't figured out what this so-called crushing advantage is. Until the tribe that attacked the Yuchi for the first time, they really realized how powerful the weapons in their hands were. When attacking the second Yuchi tribe, the 70 soldiers of the Xiao tribe in charge of the main attack began to pay attention to keeping a distance from the enemy. And when the enemy was approaching, these fighters stood still under Shi Xiong's orders, but 30 fighters took down the wooden shields on their backs and built a shield wall in a very short time. This deliberately built large wooden shield is very heavy because the outer layer is covered with a layer of iron skin, so it weighs more than 30 kilograms. But in the same way, the defensive power of this wooden shield is also very impressive, especially when the shield wall is built. The shield wall more than 2 meters high is enough to block all the enemy's long-range attacks from the shield wall. In the era without muskets, this kind of shield wall was almost unsolvable for long-range attack weapons, especially with the sound of chants. This shield wall can quickly separate several cracks. The remaining 40 soldiers lined up and attacked the enemy with muskets from the cracks in the divided shield wall. After firing a round of guns, when the soldiers retreat and reload, the shield wall will be closed. Then when the next row of soldiers is ready to fire, the shield wall will split, and the soldiers behind the shield wall will fire again. This tortoise-shell musket tactic is almost unsolvable in this era. Unless the number of enemies is large and everyone is surrounded, this tactic will be suppressed. But that kind of situation is unlikely to happen. This group of fighters all have mounts. Once Stone Bear as the commander discovers that there are many enemies, he will inevitably give an order to run away in advance. Those Yukai people are not two tyrants to equip each warrior with a mount. Therefore, Shi Xiong and the others use their mounts' advantages, and they are also insoluble when facing Yuchiren. When using this tactic www.wuxiaspa.com, each fighter usually fires 5 shots, and then the shield wall will be removed, and the tribal fighters will start long-range attacks with bows and arrows. Usually in this case, after 5 rounds of muskets and a few rounds of bow and arrow attacks, the enemy is almost dead, and then the soldiers can continue to attack steadily, completely suppressing the enemy into their tribe, and finally use rockets, conduct an attack. Even if there are escaped enemies, the warriors of the High Tree tribe cruising on the periphery of the battlefield will kill those Yuchis cleanly. The main responsibility of the fighters of the Gaoshu tribe is to kill the fish that slipped through the net, and to prevent their news from leaking out, so that the Yukai people are prepared. In this way, their expeditionary force composed of 103 people, within half a month after leaving the Zio tribe, eliminated the 9 days it took to climb the Great Washan Mountain. The small tribe of Yuchi people seen today was the 3rd tribe they encountered. The first 2 Yuchi tribes have been completely slaughtered. Still looking for Super Chief's free novels? Baidu Direct Search. It's easy to read novels. Chapter 263, One-Side Slaughter. Shi Xiong saw in the telescope that the 30 soldiers of the Gaoshu tribe were scattered far apart, separated from each other by a distance of 100 meters, and after surrounding the small tribe of the Yuchi people below, they held high, raised his right hand, then spread his 5 fingers. This is the gesture of the general attack. When the commander Shi Xiong made this gesture, it meant that the 70 soldiers of the Zio tribe behind him immediately entered the rhythm of the attack. After dismounting the horse, dismounting the cow, and then equipped with their own weapons, the 70 warriors quickly approached the small tribe below with the help of a cover of mostly human high weeds. When it was close to the tribe about 200 meters away, Shi Xiong took out the horn and blew it twice. The soldiers stopped immediately. Some began to erect large wooden shields, and some others take off the Ferguson rifle from his back. These 2 horns apparently alarmed the Yukai people of that small tribe. More than a dozen Yukai guys ran out of the wooden house where they lived. They saw a large group of weapons in the distance. When the enemy came, they suddenly howled, and then the whole small tribe began to boil. The Stone Bear rode the fire wind slowly down from the top of the mountain, and at the same time took down the big bow. The quiver containing 30 iron arrows was hung on Huofin's body, and an arrow could be drawn out at any time. The enemy in the distance was hit hard. 70 soldiers of the Zio tribe began to act in an orderly manner under the orders of Das Han and Great Acts. When the enemy just assembled, they had already completed the loading of the muskets, and then a group of 10 was divided into 4 groups. Once the enemy is within range, the 4 groups of musketeers will take turns shooting. Of course, those soldiers who are ready for the big shield have also loaded their muskets. If the enemy's offensive momentum is relatively strong, They will also gather fire at a critical moment to buy some time for the brothers behind them. When attacking the first two Yuchi tribes, this team of 70 fighters had mistakes and confusions of this kind, but that was not a problem. It was just a matter of discussing it afterwards and revising it next time. A team has to grow continuously from this kind of chaos and mistakes that constantly appear, and this expedition team is in a process of rapid growth. Jiao Naiu and Dajiao stood on the top of the mountain condescendingly looking at the whole situation. If it is not a very urgent situation, they would not take action. As Shi Xiong said before he set off, these warriors from the Gaoshu tribe came to fill in the gaps for the warriors of the Zhou tribe. Well, of course, this is a more elegant way of saying that, if you put it vulgarly, people are here to wipe your ass. It is precisely because these elite warriors of the Gaoshu tribe can wipe out the fleeing enemies for the Zhou tribe's warriors on the periphery. This team can safely attack and boldly. Yukai obviously also found this team with muskets in hand, but these Yukai people seemed very flustered. It has been a century and a half since Europeans entered the New World in North America, and the power of the muskets has long been spread on the New World. It's just that these Yuchi people are also very puzzled. The people in front who don't know where they are coming out are obviously aborigines like them, but where did the aborigines get the guns? However, these Yukai people gathered quickly, and the cat quickly approached these people with her waist down. They knew that although Vasiku's musket was very powerful, its range was limited. Generally, the range of Vasiku's muskets is only about 130 steps, 90 meters, and the range of their bows and arrows is about 100 steps, 70 meters, and the firing speed of the muskets is relatively slow. So as long as the enemy fires a shot and enters the range of the bow and arrow before they are loaded with ammunition, then they can cause damage to these enemies. Obviously, there are smart people in this Yuchi tribe, so when about 40 Yuchi people gathered and began to quickly approach Das Han and them, Das Han decisively issued the order to attack. When Uchiren had just entered the effective range of the 180-meter rifle, Das Han said decisively, "The first set of muskets, salvo." The 10 musketeers in the front row immediately took up their guns, and through the sights and sights, the enemy's figures were trapped in. Pulling the trigger, accompanied by a loud gunfire and a large cloud of green smoke, 10 projectiles crossed a distance of more than 170 meters in just a few tenths of a second. Although most of the projectiles were missed, 3 enemies also fell. At a distance of more than 170 meters, the third and 10 was achieved. If this is known to the British and French, it is estimated that they will have to jump up. Whether it is the British Brown Beth rifle or the French Saint Etienne rifle, it can achieve a hit rate of 3 out of 10 at a distance of 100 meters, which is already very high. But this group of indigenous and their mouths, the Indians, even held a rifle capable of achieving 3 and 10 at a distance of 170 meters, which is absolutely incredible for those European colonists. 40 people ran out less than 20 meters, so they lay down 3, and this position was still far away from the enemy, so the Yuchi people were frightened at once. Doesn't it mean that the range of these muskets is only 130 steps, but there are 250 steps for this special? Can you play happily? This is a gap of more than 120 steps. How can you make up for it? Banana, you scared? Just when these Yukai people were at a loss, the second round of bullets came again. The soldiers of the Zhou tribe have all received a month of musket training. They are not trained like those of soldiers from European countries. In order to let these fighters grow up as soon as possible, Shi Xiong allows them to drive at all costs regardless of cost. A good gunman is fed with bullets, and this applies not only to soldiers in later generations, but also to the present. In this period of more than a month, each of these fighters shot at least 500 rounds of ammunition, almost smashing the 100 Saint Etienne rifles. And this level of training has also made these fighters completely a qualified musketeer. After switching to the Ferguson rifle www.wuxiaspet.com, they can achieve a shooting rate of 5 out of 10 or even 6 out of 10 at a distance of 150 meters, and if they get closer to 100 meters, they can almost achieve a 90% hit rate. This is a pretty terrifying hit rate. Coupled with the reloading speed of the Ferguson rifle, These 70 Zio tribe fighters are even capable of competing with 200 British or French musketeers, and can even suppress them. But now, these 70 warriors who had no chaos and mistakes faced the Yukai man with bows and arrows and bone spears. It was a slaughter on one side. They just need to take a good time to aim, shoot, and then back up to reload, waiting for the next shot, and it's okay. The Yukai people on the opposite side had completely collapsed after they fell more than 20 people in 3 rounds of shooting. But they can't run. Not only these 70 fighters have mounts, there are also 30 fighters from the Gaoshu tribe who are more powerful with muskets waiting for them. Still looking for Super Chief's free novels? Baidu Direct Search. It's easy to read novels. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264, Yukai Wang Ting. After being driven to the south of the Great Smoky Mountains by the Cherokees and Chicashes, Yukai had been living in the southern foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains. The rivers in this area are vertical and horizontal, and the terrain is also very complicated, so the Yuchi cannot form a large tribe. Even the royal court of the Yuchi is just a tribe with only more than 600 people. Most of the tribes in the entire Yuchi tribe are small tribes with a population of less than 100. Dozens of Yuchi tribes are distributed in the southern foothills of the Great Smoky Mountain. Shi Xiong and the others came along the way. Before reaching the Yuchi's royal court, they encountered a total of 5 Yuchi tribes. All of these tribes were slaughtered by this hateful expeditionary army of avengers without exception. If there is an accurate map at this time, you can find that the Stone Bears and their team have been heading southeast since they entered the Great Smoky Mountain along the Hayworthy River. The current Hayworthy River is different from the past. Later Americans built 2 dams on the upper reaches of the Hayworthy River, which restrained the Manic Hayworthy River and formed 2 large dams in the depths of the Great Smoky Mountains. Artificial reservoir. One of the 2 large man-made reservoirs is called Hallworthy Lake, and the other one is more upstream called Lake Chatuji. However, at this time there were no 2 reservoirs yet, so Shi Xiong and the others marched along the valley of the Hayworth River. When they were marching in the Great Smoky Mountains, it was still relatively smooth. But after arriving at the later generations of Lake Chatuji, the road became difficult to walk. However, in the early days, Nighthawks and the others did not go out in vain. The 5 of them wandered in the Smoky Mountains for a month and naturally found the most suitable path for marching. In fact, the route that Shi Xiong and the others are taking now almost coincides with the highway number 76 in the later state. And when they slaughtered 5 small tribes of Yuchi on the road, they came to the Tagalu River. This river is one of the 2 tributaries of the Savannah River, and it is also the boundary river between the later states of Georgia and South Carolina. Go downstream along this river and you will directly arrive at the seat of Yuchiren's royal court. This route was found by Nighthawk and the others after wandering in the Great Smoky Mountains for nearly a month, and the 5 of Nighthawk and the others did indeed walk along this road to the vicinity of Yuchiren's royal court. The abundantly flowing Savannah River is formed by the confluence of 2 rivers that originated in the depths of the Great Smoky Mountains. One island, the Tagalu River, where the Stone Bears are walking, and the other tributary is called the Seneca River. After these 2 rivers meet, the Savannah River is formed. Later Americans built a Hardwell Dam downstream of the confluence of the 2 rivers, and formed a huge artificial lake, Hardwell Lake, upstream of the dam. The seat of Yukai's royal court is near this big lake. Of course, there is no Lake Hartwell at this time, but the place where Yukai's royal court is located has not changed. Therefore, Shi Xiong and the others only need to walk along the Tagalu River, and then cross the Seneca River at the confluence of the 2 rivers, and they can directly face the court of Yuchi. The Savannah River in summer is manic, especially when it has just escaped from the shackles of the Great Smoky Mountains. When the river comes to the hilly area where the terrain is beginning to flatten, the river is even more turbulent. After the Stone Bears arrived at the confluence of the 2 rivers, They walked more than 10 kilometers upstream along the Seneca River before they found a naturally formed wooden bridge in a deep valley, and they were able to cross the congestion. Nika River. This wooden bridge is actually a big tree that fell to the ground after being struck by lightning. This big tree is very thick, and its diameter at breast height must be at least 8 meters. Although the tree has been burnt and you can't see its original appearance, but from the straight and thick trunk of this tree, the stone bear can still tell that this big tree should be a huge tree before it fell to the ground. Lord of the World. When the World Master struck by lightning fell to the ground, it happened to stand on both sides of the cliff in this river valley, forming such a natural wooden bridge. And the diameter of nearly 3 meters is enough for Shi Xiong and the others to lead horses and bison across this single plank bridge. After crossing this single plank bridge, continue walking south along the Seneca River, and you will directly arrive at the seat of the Yuchi King's court. By this area, the terrain has become relatively flat. There are no tall mountains anymore. There are only hills tens of meters high, and the terrain is similar to the terrain near the Gaoshu tribe. It's just that these hills are scattered, and there are large tracts of flat land between hills and hills. The Yuchi's royal court is located in the flat land between the hills on the east bank of the Savannah River. This is the court of Yuchiren. It doesn't look very good. Jiao Naiu put down the telescope in his hand and said with a disdainful expression on his face. Bigfoot smiled and said, "How big do you think Yukai's royal court is? Yukai is a Yukai after all, let alone compare with our Cherokee. www.wuxiaspot.com. Even if they are smaller than the Chikashi tribe, it's very good. Their royal court is already on such a scale." Nighthawk pointed to the other 2 directions and said, "To the south and east of the Yuchi royal court, there are 2 royal court guarding tribes. Each of these 2 tribes looks like more than 200 people, but in the tribe the number of fighters looks quite large." Dasan said, "This is inevitable. The royal court of every tribe has a guarding tribe, just like our Chikasha court and 4 guarding tribes. Even if the court of Yuchi is small, it is a tribe after all. The royal court of China must be indispensable to guard the tribe." Shi Xiong said, "Anyway, we must move the court of Yukai, but this is indeed a hard bone. There are at least 400 soldiers here, right?" Nighthawk said from the side, "Guardian, the number you estimated is similar to the number we observed last time. The number of soldiers from the Yuchi royal court and the 2 guarding tribes is about 400, and the last time, when we came, we saw that they looked like more than 30 war horses." Bigfoot said with some worry, "Guardians, we are only 100 people. Can we deal with more than 400 Yuchi warriors? They still have more than 30 war horses, and women in the tribe. We have to think of a safe way." Shi Xiong shook his head and said, "Uncle Bigfoot, our weapons have an overwhelming advantage, and the advantages of weapons are enough to make up for the gap in the number of people. We should have no problem with 100 of us against 400 of them. As for the war horses, it is just right. Our soldiers still lack 40 horses. I think it would be a good choice to get these horses." Seeing that, Shi Xiong said relaxedly, several people laughed loudly. Chapter 265, Tactic Number 3. Don't look at Shi Xiong's lightness. In fact, after he first saw Yuchiren's royal court, the hatred that had been hidden deep in his heart broke out uncontrollably. To say something bad, if it were not for the more than 100 people he brought with him, he would have killed him alone with his gun. Therefore, when Shi Xiong announced the offensive tactics, he took the lead and led the 90 soldiers to rush directly at the Yuchiren's wang court. Bigfoot and Jiao Naiu did not participate in this battle. They led 10 soldiers still stationed here. Here you can watch the selected battlefield below. If the enemy's strength is too strong, then they need to hold on here firmly, wait for the stone bears to retreat, and then evacuate from the single plank bridge together. The road at the time of arrival is the best evacuation route, and the single plank bridge is in the true sense of the word. And when I arrived here, I had already arrived at the destination of this expedition, so there was no need for rangers to spread out and cover the battlefield around the battlefield. In addition to the warriors from the Gaoshu tribe, this is where the Stone Bear and the 70 Zio tribe warriors slaughtered. With the new rifles and iron bows in their hands, They are confident that they can kill the enemy as much as possible from a safe distance. Even if the enemy breaks through the blockade, they can start a guerrilla warfare with the enemy with their mounts under their hips. The wrong number is that the number of enemies is too large, and all the venues and routes for their fights have been sealed off, so that is the time to retreat. Anyway, as long as the enemy does not completely block their guerrilla route, they will continue to fight. The 20 warriors of the Gaoshu tribe who followed were all militants in the Gaoshu tribe. These people were also ardent admirers of the Guardian, so they called to protect the Guardian, and they were cheeky, followed to the battlefield. For the kindness of these fighters, Shi Xiong would naturally not stop them. Originally there were few people. If another 20 people were removed, it would be a bit embarrassing to rely on these 70 warriors of the Zhou tribe, and 20 more masters with guns can greatly improve the kill rate and safety of the battlefield. Immediately after descending the hillside, Shi Xiong ordered the giant axe to carry a big flag. It was a flag made of cotton cloth, dyed red with red dye, and then painted a dagger and a skull with black dye. The dagger is inserted from the top of the skull, and the tip of the dagger penetrates from the chin of the skull. This is a pattern representing revenge, painted by Shi Xiong himself. As soon as this banner comes out, it means we are here to take revenge. You obediently wash and wait for your neck to be wiped. The sound of 50 war horses and 40 bisons moving together was still very loud, so this hateful team marched for a short time, and bursts of horns and drums sounded from a distance. Sitting on Huo Feng's back, the stone bear saw many running people in the Yuchi tribe in the distance. A large area of Yang appeared in the Yuchi king's court, and many people appeared in the Guardian tribes on both sides of the Yuchi king's court. These people were quickly gathering in front of the Yuchi king's court. The number of enemies was more than imagined, but this did not stop the soldiers of the Zhou tribe. They followed the tall figure in the front and continued to move forward without saying a word. In the 7 or 8 days before it came to the court of Yuchi, this hatred team had already slaughtered 5 small tribes of Yuchi, killing nearly 400 people in total, and no Yuchi could escape. 5 small battles have given these fighters ample training. Not only have their tactics been drilled, but their minds and courage have also been tempered harder and harder. Even if the number of enemies on the opposite side is close to 500 people, they are not a little bit afraid, and they have no intention of shrinking. The killing and hatred that have been used in the past few days have made them look like the hardest stone. Unless the enemy can really become the sledgehammer that smashes this stone, nothing can make them back down. The assembled Yukai made noises, shouting and scolding intertwined, making it extremely chaotic. On Shi Xiong's side, he kept moving forward silently. Although the speed was not fast, he was extremely firm. It may be that Shi Xiong and the others were so fierce that the Yukai people in the assembly did not dare to attack immediately, but stood there stupidly. Perhaps in the eyes of these Yukai people, Shi Xiong and the others did not seem to be enemies, but messengers from other tribes who came to befriend them. Is it just that the leader of Yuchiren is brain dead? Can't they understand the meaning of the pattern painted on that banner? No matter what Yuchiren thought, Shi Xiong's fighting spirit was getting stronger and stronger. When he walked about 300 meters away from Yuchiren, Shi Xiong raised his right hand, and then clenched his 5 fingers. The whole team immediately stopped. Dismount, and execute tactic number 3, Shi Xiong snorted, and then the 90 soldiers quickly dismounted their mounts, and took the things they needed from their mounts, and then quickly took all the mounts. They were all gathered together, and watched by 5 dedicated fighters. www.wuxiasput.com. The other 85 fighters formed a semicircular battle formation in front of these mounts. After Shi Xiong drove his horse back to the semicircular battle formation, he sat down on the horse and took out his binoculars and looked at the opposite side. At this distance, no matter how good the line of sight is, it is impossible to distinguish the identity of the enemy. But with a telescope, it's not the same. Even if the effect of this type of telescope captured from the French is not very good, it is still a military telescope. At least at this distance, the identity of the enemy can be clearly distinguished. Looking through the binoculars, Stone Bear can clearly see that the 30 or so war horses owned by Yukai are all concentrated in the forefront of their team at this time. Among the 30-something riders, some of them dress and look different from others. Needless to say, These people must be the senior members of Yuchiren, especially the guy in the middle riding a dark horse, with an eagle feather headdress on his head that the chief is qualified to wear. North American Indians attach great importance to headgear. There are strict regulations on what kind of headgear should be worn by any person, and no one dares to violate this regulation. Like this headdress made up of 7 different colors of eagle feathers, a tribe can only be worn by one person, and that is the chief of the tribe. This idiot, I dare to wear it like this on the battlefield. I really don't know how the death character is written. Shi Xiong spit, took off the big bow on his back with his backhand, and drew out another piece of iron arrow, and then both arms fought, and the huge bow was drawn into a full moon. The next moment, accompanied by a scream, the iron arrow weighing 5 catties disappeared instantly. Only Shi Xiong knew that the ultimate goal of the iron arrow was the head of the guy wearing the 7-color eagle feather headdress. Chapter 266, Face to Face. Yuchiren fried the pan, and fried the pan thoroughly. The last chief of the tribe has just died, and the new chief has not been in office for a month. Even the inauguration ceremony has not been held, and the seat under the buttocks has not been hot yet. As a result, he was shot by an arrow in full view. Kill. The ghost knows how the enemy shot his new chieftain with one arrow at such a distance. The chief didn't just say that we should be stable. The people on the other side are probably the messengers who came to make good friends. But why the messenger shot our chief? This is definitely not a messenger with friendship. This is a group of real enemies. And it wasn't just the chief. At the same time that the chief fell to the ground from the war horse, the tribal leaders of the 2 guarding tribes were also shot and killed by 2 black, large and surprisingly large iron arrows. My chieftain and the 2 tribal leaders who guarded the tribe were under the protection of 500 warriors, and they were shot and killed in this way. What is this all about? And the warrior who had just participated in the attack on the Zio tribe also saw the very tall figure riding on a horse galloping in the distance. Almost in an instant, the nightmare that happened in the Zio tribe more than a month ago resurfaced in the minds of these people. It's the Harpak. It's the Harpak. That Harpak is here again. Several yells with horror suddenly rang from Yukai's team, which reminded more people of the nightmare that happened many months ago. The Yukai people suddenly panicked. As the elite of the royal court, most of these Yukai fighters followed the previous chief and participated in the battle that attacked the Zio tribe last month. Originally, the battle should have ended with a very perfect ending. The Chikasha tribe with more than 1,500 people would be completely annihilated, and the wealth and women in the tribe would become Yuchi's spoils. But unfortunately, I don't know where a big man who was terrifying came out. He not only shot and killed Chief Humazia, but also shot and killed the tribe leaders of the other 7 tribes. A terrifying mountain knife, sweeping the entire battlefield horizontally and horizontally, smashed all the Yuchi fighters. That horrible figure is the reincarnation of Harpak. He is an out-and-out demon. And now, that terrifying guy seems to be here again. Many Yukai soldiers shivered involuntarily, and some were timid and even moved slowly outward. But terrifying things are still happening constantly. The big men riding on the war horses were shot one after another. In such a short time, the terrifying Harpak contacted and shot more than 10 big men, and the remaining big men riding horses even slapped their horses and ran away. The chief and the leader were all dead, and those high-level figures ran away dead, and the remaining Yuchi warriors were completely messed up and blown up the pot. Some Yuchi fighters were frightened by this sudden killing, crying and screaming and wanted to run with the big men on horseback, but more Yuchi fighters were aroused by this sudden killing. They just have a few people, kill them to avenge the chief and the leader. In the chaotic team, I don't know who shouted such a sentence, and suddenly the originally chaotic situation gradually settled down. As more Yuchi warriors shouted, most of the Yuchi warriors slowly settled down. Even at a distance of 300 meters, Shi Xiong could detect Yuchiren's changes, and he couldn't help sighing slightly. I wanted to take advantage of the chaos to cause more harm to Yukai, but now it seems impossible. I didn't expect that there are such talents among Yukai. Shi Xiong shook his head slightly, and then said loudly, "My brothers, the enemy is about to attack soon." Get your spirits up, and use the guns in your hands to teach these Yuchi a big lesson." The crowd responded with a slam, and 90 people turned out to be hundreds of people. "Load ammunition," Das Han roared loudly, and all the soldiers neatly began to fill their guns with ammunition. Most of the Yuchi fighters had already begun to scream and rush towards the direction of the stone bears under the leadership of some compatriots. It's just that these Yukai people don't understand what is called a skirmish line, so they are all gathered together to charge. 20 people per round, 4 rounds in a row. "Brothers, pour all the ammunition in our ammunition bag onto Yuchiren. Prepare for the first round. Aim." Da Shan continued to roar and issued a second order. Because the Yukai people charged in a concentrated manner, the soldiers of the Zio tribe didn't need to maintain a semicircular battle formation. Instead, they became a parallel battle team, with 20 people in each row and 25 people in the last row. Because it was shooting in turn, Shi Xiong did not ask the fighters shooting in the front row to squat down and shoot, but to shoot from a standing position. This can better target distant enemies. Shi Xiong was still sitting on his horse, using visual observation to measure the distance between the charging enemy and his team. 250 meters, 230 meters, 210 meters. Shi Xiong counted silently in his heart. www.wuxiaspot.com. When the number became 108, when it was 10 meters, Shi Xiong stretched out his 5 fingers towards the mountain. Das Han roared, "First row, fire!" Bang! 20 guns that can't be fired at the same time accurately, because there are first and second when firing. The sound of gunfire when firing is connected together, forming a sound of 4 or 5. There was a loud bang for a second. A large cloud of green smoke immediately enveloped this small position. The gunfire did not have any effect on the mountains behind them, and even the most frightened bison still ate the weeds leisurely. These animals were also frightened by gunshots at first, but these animals have been fighting with the soldiers of the Zio tribe for a long time, and these animals are also familiar with gunshots. They have almost no sense of gunshots. Accompanied by the loud noise of this life, among the Yukai warriors who charged like a tide, suddenly there were 7 or 8 warriors as if they were beaten face to face by an invisible sledgehammer. The appearance of the physical law was suddenly lifted backwards, and then his body fell heavily to the ground. At this distance, the Ferguson rifle is still extremely powerful. After all, although the muskets of this era use lead bullets, the caliber is placed here. Later rifles with a caliber of 12.7 mm can be called anti-material rifles, and rifles of this era generally have a caliber exceeding 15 mm, so even if they shoot soft lead bullets, their power is far inferior to the copper-clad steel core of later generations. Compared with bullets, the kinetic energy carried by the bullet itself is still very powerful. This kind of bullet hitting a person is really no different from being hit by a big hammer. Chapter 267, like Maxim, Shi Xiong sat on Huofeng's back with a big bow, coldly watching the massacre in front of him, without a trace of fluctuation in his heart. That's right, this is actually a slaughter on one side. Although the number of warriors in the court of Yuchi and the 2 guarding tribes exceeded Shi Xiong's expectations, and these 500 or so Yuchi warriors can be said to be the most elite warriors in the entire Yuchi tribe, they hold primitive bone knives. The Yuchi warriors with bone spears and bows are slaughtered in front of real hot weapons. And this slaughter reminds Shi Xiong of the famous Maxim heavy machine gun. Shi Xiong was a semi-military fan in his previous life. He had learned about the Maxim heavy machine gun from various sources. Before the appearance of the Maxim heavy machine gun, people have used muskets for hundreds of years, but all guns are non-automatic guns, and the bullets need to be loaded one by one. At that time, the decisive force for victory in the war was largely determined by the speed of reloading. Many people were killed inexplicably before they had time to fill the second bullet. The reason why Shi Xiong asked Ferguson to develop a new rifle is that the range is only one aspect. and the key is to increase the loading speed. Hiram Stevens Maxim is a name that cannot be avoided in the history of human warfare. The inventor of the heavy machine gun was born in the United States on February 25, 1840. He was born in poverty and became an apprentice to a carriage manufacturer at the age of 14. This child born in a poor family has little cultural accomplishment, but he is born with a brain that loves invention. With this inventive mind, he obtained a patent for a perm iron in the United States, and later invented a gas generator for lighting and a locomotive headlight. In 1883, he went to England. At the time when the European continent was raging, Maxim turned to research rapid-fire weapons. In 1884, Maxim produced the world's first machine gun capable of automatic continuous shooting. This is a truly fully automatic machine gun, capable of firing more than 600 rounds per minute. The description of this mechanical movement is complicated and abstract, but if you look at it yourself, you will immediately admire its ingenuity in the Maxim machine gun. For the first time, humans have used such mechanisms as the recoil spring, reliable shell ejection system, belt feed mechanism, acceleration mechanism, reliable adjustment of the bottom clearance of the bullet, and hydraulic buffer for adjusting the rate of fire. Even in the 21st century, professional firearms developers still follow the three basic principles of gunpowder gas energy automatic shooting pioneered by Maxim: barrel recoil, bolt action, and air-guided. As soon as the Maxim heavy machine gun was born, it immediately showed outstanding performance on the battlefield. The first application of the Maxim heavy machine gun on the battlefield took place on a battlefield in Rhodesia in 1893. Rhodesia is the later Zimbabwe. At that time, this country was a British colony, but the local Zulus were very unfriendly to the British, and a war broke out between the colonizers and the colonized. Perhaps it's not appropriate to use war to describe the conflict, because at that time there were more than 5,000 Zulus armed with bone knives, bone spears and bows and arrows attacking the British station, but there were only 50 British soldiers defending the station. Infantry. If the comparison is purely based on the number of people, this should be a one-sided massacre. 50 people cannot be the opponent of 5,000 people anyway. However, that conflict really turned into a one-sided massacre, but it was not the Zulus who slaughtered the British soldiers, but the 50 British soldiers slaughtered the Zulus. Because those 50 British infantrymen had 4 Maxim heavy machine guns at the time. Once this kind of big guy that can fire 600 bullets in a minute opens fire, no matter who is on the opposite side, as long as he is exposed to the muzzled, there must be no way to survive. As a result, in less than half an hour, the more than 5,000 Zulu warriors who attacked the British garrison dropped more than 3,000 corpses and fled in a hurry. The Maxim heavy machine gun showed its great dominance on the battlefield for the first time. In 1895, in the Battle of Chitral in Afghanistan and the Battle of Sudan, soldiers on the offensive side suffered heavy casualties under the defensive Maxim heavy machine gun. In 1898, at the Battle of Omdurman in Sudan, 20,000 teaching dervishes attacked, and as many as 15,000 fell in front of the position of the Maxim heavy machine gun. In the Boer War that began in 1899, the Boers suffered a devastating blow from the Maxim heavy machine gun when they charged, with losses exceeding 70%. The battle that really made Maxim's heavy machine gun famous was the Battle of the Somme during World War I. In the largest battle of the First World War, the British had 54 divisions, the French had 32 divisions, and the Germans had 67 divisions. However, although the Maxim heavy machine gun had already emerged in many small-scale battles at that time, for the military of various countries, this heavy machine gun was just put into use and did not get the attention of all countries. However, in order to prevent the advancement of the British and French forces, the German army deployed a Maxim heavy machine gun every 100 meters in the positional battle. Facing such intensive firepower allocation under the popular group charge at the time, www.wuxiaspa.com is undoubtedly a large-scale suicide. At that time, because of Maxim's vitality on the battlefield, More than 60,000 people were killed and injured in the British and French coalition forces in one day, created the highest number of casualties in a single day in the First World War. Shi Xiong has not personally witnessed the massacre of the Zulus by the Maxine heavy machine gun in Rhodesia, nor has he personally witnessed the great power of the Maxine heavy machine gun in the Battle of the Somme, but he witnessed the impact of the hot weapon, the result of the flesh and blood. In contrast, the previous slaughter of the 5 small tribes of the Yukai people could not make it onto the stage at all. This comparison is like the difference between a single-shot rifle and a fully automatic Maxine heavy machine gun. The ratio of the number of fighters on both sides participating in the battle this time is 85 to 500. The number of Shi Xiong's is dominant and absolute disadvantage, but Shi Xiong's have muskets in their hands, and they can fire 6 shots of Ferguson rifled guns in 1 minute. In the case of alternate shooting, these 85 soldiers can theoretically fire 510 rounds of bullets per minute. The density of such bullets is almost comparable to that of a Maxim heavy machine gun. Although the lead bullet fired by the Ferguson rifle is far from the power of the copper-clad steel core bullet fired by the Maxim heavy machine gun, the density of the bullets at this level is not something that a mere 500 Yukai people with primitive weapons can stop. The Yukai people had no horses, and although they rushed up in a swarm, they did not spread out according to the skirmish line, and the density of the team was comparable to that of the Spanish phalanx. Therefore, although the 20 soldiers on Shi Xiong's side can only cover a distance that is not very wide, once this row of guns goes crazy, a massacre like Maxim inevitably falls on New Chiron's head. Chapter 268 Flight. In the interval from 100 meters to 120 meters from Shi Xiong and the others, it was like having a transparent cover. No matter how Yukai tried to get closer, they just couldn't do it. At a distance of 100 meters to 120 meters, the soldiers of the Zio tribe, who have been training hard for more than a month and have 5 combat experiences, can shoot almost as high as 70% to 80%. This is a pretty terrifying hit rate. Of course, the fault is that they can have such a high shooting rate with a Ferguson rifle in their hands. If they still have a Saint Etienne rifle, their shooting rate at this distance will definitely not exceed 40%. For now, the world can only do this with this Ferguson rifle, which has a fast loading speed, a long range, and high shooting accuracy. The warriors of the Zio tribe went crazy. The thrill of hatred and slaughter caused their adrenal glands to secrete quickly. At this moment, they seemed to have transformed into a precision killing machine, repeating each one mechanically and accurately. Shooting and reloading actions. The area where Shi Xiong and the others are located has been completely shrouded in the blue smoke produced by the explosive igniting of the gunpowder, but even so, the crack shooting sound has never been interrupted. Although the Zio tribe had slaughtered 5 small tribes of Yuchi people, the ammunition they consumed was really limited. After all, in the previous few battles, each of them only needed to fire 5 shots, and the enemy basically knelt completely. But now, there are 500 enemies on the opposite side, and Das Han and the others can shoot vigorously. They carried a full 300 rounds of ammunition for their revenge on this expedition. The warriors of the Zio tribe went mad, and the Yukai man on the opposite side was bound to be beaten up. Watching the brothers around them being shot one by one, but they couldn't cross the invisible boundary, they could only be anxious beyond the range of the bow and arrow. The range of their bows and arrows in their hands is at most 100 steps, 70 meters. As for the throwing of bone spears, it is more than 70 meters. Therefore, even if these Yuchi fighters have an absolute advantage in number, they are helpless with the people from the Zio tribe on the opposite side. There are also people who want to go around, but once someone goes beyond a certain range, a black, surprisingly large arrow will inevitably appear, and then ruthlessly nail the person who wants to detour directly to the ground. The terrifying Harpak was sitting on horseback with a terrifying long bow in his hand, condescendingly controlling the entire battlefield. Whoever dares to detour will inevitably not escape the bow and arrow in the hands of that terrifying Harpak. It's a good time. You can't attack and you can't make a detour. In just 10 minutes, Yuchiron has dropped more than 300 in the area of the meat grinder that can be called the line of life and death. corpse. The aggressiveness at the beginning has completely disappeared from Yuchiren at this time, and once the momentum of the initial charge is lost, the defeat will inevitably occur. The surviving Yuchiren began to run back desperately, and that posture really wanted to have two more legs. Seeing that the enemy began to rout, Shi Xiong raised both hands, then clenched his fists and swung down heavily. Da Shan immediately roared, "The whole army is attacking! The whole army is attacking! Free shooting! Start free shooting!" The soldiers of the Xiao tribe immediately put down their muskets, trot back to the area where the mounts were gathered, pulled out their mounts, and then mounted them. I have to say that every Indian is born a master of horseback riding. They hardly need training, and they know how to ride a horse, as if this skill was brought out of the mother's belly. In more than half a century, when horses are no longer so precious, the advantages of North American Indians in riding will become more obvious. When Americans need stirrups and saddles to ride horses, Indians need nothing to ride, but they still ride much better than Americans. The same is true now, especially after Stone Bear has installed saddle stirrups on their mounts. These warriors can even control the speed of their mounts without controlling the reins with their hands. Because of the free hands, these soldiers can still shoot freely on the bumpy horseback even if they are running at high speed on horseback. Therefore, even if the Yukai people flee, the massacre is still going on. Shi Xiong did not follow the soldiers to chase and slaughter the Yukai people. He rode the fire and wind around the battlefield. After taking back the arrows shot before, he chopped down the new Renhu of the Yukai clan with a knife in his hand. Chief Mizhu's head, of course. The two guardian tribe leaders who were shot by the Stone Bear at the beginning did not escape the fate of being chopped off by the Stone Bear. Counting the heads of the 5 Yuchi tribe leaders chopped down earlier, Shi Xiong already had 8 heads in his hand. The first level that has been marinated in lime is the best thing to pay homage to Baiyan. When Shi Xiong rode the fire wind to the court of Yuchi, this tribe of more than 600 people had already burned a raging fire, and it was not only the court of Yuchi, but also in the 2 guardian tribes not far away. There was a big fire. www.wuxiaspa.com. When the Yuchi attacked the Xiao tribe, the same big fire once ignited in the quiet and peaceful Xiao tribe. This time, Shi Xiong and the others just returned. Seeing those Yukai people who were howling and crying, Shi Xiong still didn't have a trace of fluctuation in his heart. This is not that the Stone Bear is cold-blooded, nor does it mean that the Stone Bear does not care about the lives of the Indians. On the contrary, if he were a member of another tribe, even if it was a mortal enemy Chikasa, he would not make such a massacre, and he would not set fire to the enemy's tribe. But these Yukai people couldn't do it, because they killed Shi Xiong's most beloved woman. Stone Bear wants revenge. This is not inconsistent with Stone Bear's idea of saving the destiny of North American Indians. Saving the fate of North American Indians and revenge are two different things. At least that's what Shi Xiong thought. Therefore, all of this is the retribution of these Yukai people. A raging fire soared into the sky, and the thick smoke blackened half of the sky. For those Yukai who escaped, regardless of men, women, young or old, Shi Xiong ignored them. But if he didn't order those people to be killed, it didn't matter whether the soldiers of the Xiao tribe under him would be Stone Bears. Each of the warriors of these Xiao tribes bears the blood and deep vengeance of their relatives. They climbed the Great Smog Mountain and came here for revenge, and they came to slaughter the Yukai people. Shi Xiong looked at the massacres in some places indifferently, but he ignored them. These fighters under him need to kill to vent. But at this moment, a trumpet sounded suddenly. Shi Xiong suddenly turned his head and looked at the small hill where Jiao Naiu and the others were. Although he could not see Jiao Naiu and the others because of the distance, there is no doubt that the horn was sounded by Jiao Naiu. Chapter 269, Yuchiren. Although Jiao Naiu and Dejiao will not fight with the Stone Bears in this expedition to Yuchiren, they are not idle. After all, although the scale of this expedition is small, it is also very important for the Gaoshu tribe. The experience gained during this expedition is not something that you can have by talking and laughing, especially the use of firearms in formal battles, which has never happened before in the Gaoshu tribe and even the entire Cherokee tribe. Therefore, Jiao Naiu and Dejiao have been watching silently, and actively participated in the discussion after the battle. Of course, in addition to these things, Jiao Naiu and Dai Jiao also served as the logistics officers of this expedition team, including evacuation arrangements under extreme conditions. It seemed that this time the action against the court of Yukai was regarded as the last juncture of this expedition. The Yuchi Palace is located in the hinterland of the Yuchi clan. In addition to the 2 guardian tribes around the Yuchi Palace, there are many other tribes. Because of the disparity of intelligence information, Shi Xiong and the others could not know the specific situation of the other tribes of the Yuchi people, and they did not know whether the other tribes would come to King Qin after the court of Yuchi was attacked. But whether you know it or not, the necessary evacuation procedures must be set before the battle begins. Dai Jiao and Jiao Naiu led 10 elite warriors of the Gaoshu tribe to stay on the top of that small hill. One was to ensure the safety of the evacuation route, and the other was to monitor the situation around the court of Yuchi from a high level. As the saying goes, the small hill that Jiao Naiu occupied is only a few tens of meters high, but it can be regarded as one of the commanding heights around here. Standing on the top of this small hill, with the telescope in hand, Jiao Naiu and Dai Jiao can easily see the situation within a radius of 5 or 6 kilometers. As long as there are other Yukai people coming, they must be the first to find out. In fact, what neither the stone bear nor the big-footed man knows is that there will be 2 more days, the day after tomorrow, when the new chief Humazia of the royal court of Yuchi will officially take office. On this day, the leaders, sacrifices and some elite warriors of the tribes of the Yuchi tribe will gather at the court of the Yuchi king to witness the inauguration ceremony of the new chief Humazia. The last chief Yuchi was shot and killed by the stone bear when he attacked the Zio tribe. The leaders of the 7 largest tribes of the Yuchi tribe were also shot by the stone bear. The entire Yuchi tribe immediately appeared in a power vacuum. Whether it is Chief Yukai or the leader of the 7 tribes, they are extremely attractive. Therefore, around these 8 positions, the entire Yuchi tribe has no idea how many nasty things have happened in the past month or so. This is why the new chieftain has not been determined until now. The day after tomorrow is the big day when the new chief Humazia takes office, so according to regulations, people from all tribes of the Yuchi tribe must come to celebrate. Today, at least half of the tribal leaders of the Yuchi tribe will bring their elite warriors to the court of the Yuchi king. Then, on the hills, Jiao Naiu and Dai Jiao saw the vast army of Yukai people approaching in the distance. Although it is impossible to determine how many people from Yukai came, it is undeniable that the number of these people is no less than the enemy that Shi Xiong faced just now. If they face 500 Yuchis alone, Shi Xiong and the others have already proved the power of the guns in their hands, but if the enemy doubles, then things are hard to say. The huge disadvantages of weapons can sometimes be smoothed out by the number of people. Up to now, the entire expedition is progressing smoothly. There are a total of 103 people in the expeditionary army, and no one has died. Therefore, whether it is Bigfoot or Jiao, I want to bring everyone back after today's battle is over. Seeing that the court below Yuchi king has been shrouded in fire, and the 2 guardian tribes are also caught in the sea of fire, this combat mission has actually been completely completed. As long as it is safe to evacuate, then the revenge of the Zio tribe will be successfully completed. Therefore, Jiao Naiu sounded the horn of evacuation without hesitation. He didn't want Shi Xiong and the others to be surrounded by Yukai's army at the last moment. 2 short, 1 long and 3 short horns are the pre-arranged evacuation signals. Once this horn sounds, no matter what the situation, Shi Xiong must lead everyone to evacuate quickly. Because once this horn sounded, it meant that uncontrollable accidents occurred around the battlefield. So even though Shi Xiong didn't know the situation outside, he didn't hesitate to shout loudly for the soldiers of the Zio tribe to assemble, and then quickly retreated to the hills on the mountain. And just as they had just withdrawn from the Yuchi palace, they also saw a large swath of Yuchi people in the distance. The number of people who came here was a bit more than Jiao Naiu estimated, and it was estimated to be at least 700 or 800 people. This may be more than a dozen warriors from the Yuchi tribe who came to observe the ceremony. This situation also made Shi Xiong secretly cry out for luck. If Jiao Naiu hadn't discovered these people in advance, and the soldiers under his men were scattered around the court of Yukai Wang. Once they were surrounded by these sudden Yukai people, the result would have been very bad. These fighters under one subordinate scatter and use muskets. As long as the distance is sufficient, it is difficult for the enemy to get close. But if they were scattered and couldn't form a musket array, these brothers would be very dangerous. These newly arrived Yukai obviously also found the group of people who burned their royal court, so these Yukai immediately screamed, waved the weapon in their hands, and chased them at the stone bear. But after all, 2 legs can't be compared with 4 legs. Even if nearly half of Shi Xiong's fighters are riding tamed bison, the bison can run very fast. As a result, Shi Xiong and the others ran ahead, and about 1 kilometer behind, there were 700 or 800 Yuchi chasing wildly. And the soldiers of the royal court of Yukai who were previously broken up by Shi Xiong and their muskets were also reunited because of these later Yukai people. They followed behind these compatriots and screamed and chased Shi Xiong and them. Shi Xiong and the others quickly ran back to the small hill, and Jiao Naiu and Bigfoot greeted him, and Bigfoot asked solemnly, "Guardian, we must retreat. The number of enemies is much more than estimated." Shi Xiong got off his horse, turned to look at the dwarf Yukai people in the distance, calculated silently in his heart, and then said, "No, let's not retreat, since these Yukai people are here. If we don't leave anything behind, isn't it sorry for the compatriots of the Zhou tribe who died?" As he said, Shi Xiong said to Das Han, "Line up and guard, fast horse, you lead your people to unload the things we brought, and then dig pits to install these things on the spot. We want Yukai to taste what is called Thunder Fury." Chapter 270, Conscience Canon. Hearing Shi Xiong's words, everyone including Kuei-ma showed expectation on their faces. Even Jiao Naiu and Ajiao stopped mentioning the evacuation, because they all wanted to see how powerful the thing that the Guardian had come out of was in actual combat. In this expedition to Yuchiren, Kuei-ma, as Shi Xiong's hardest brother, will naturally follow him. And he also helped Jack Williams and the others to make this kind of gadgets, and when they used this kind of gadgets for a while, he was the main manipulator. Said it is a gadget, but this thing is really not small, at least it is much larger than the muskets used by the brothers. 5 large drums wrapped in animal skins were unloaded from the back of the cow. This large drum was made of thin steel plates. The joints and the bottom were riveted with rivets, and one end was open. A large drum is 40 centimeters in diameter and about 1 meter in length. The whole body is made of thin steel plates about 3 millimeters thick. The weight of such a large drum is more than 160 kilograms. A cow can carry such a cylinder. This is why this expedition team will use 10 tamed bison to pull ammunition supplies, mainly for pulling these 5 gadgets. Just as Kuei-ma and the others unloaded these 5 gadgets, other soldiers had already dug 5 inclined pits more than 70 centimeters deep and almost half a meter in diameter on the top of the small hills at the fastest speed. After unloading the 5 big drums, they were put directly into the excavated inclined pit, and then the gaps were filled with the excavated soil. At this time, the warriors in the formation had already begun to shoot. Some fast-running Yuchis have reached the foot of the hills, and the distance from the top of the mountain is about 200 meters. Because it is a condescending shooting, it is no problem to extend the distance appropriately. The big drum was set up, and Kuei-ma and the others put 5 logs up to 15 centimeters thick into the bottom of the big drum. A circular groove with a diameter of about 20 centimeters was cut in the middle of this log. Naturally, this work was done by the old wooden family. The main function of this circular groove is to hold black powder. When the log fell on the bottom of the big barrel, the 5 men of the Gaoshu tribe carefully poured the black powder contained in the skin into this groove, and at the same time inserted a long fuse into these in the black powder. The ignition is indexed to the outside. After all this was done, another round wooden board about 3 centimeters thick was placed on it, and then a bag of fuse inserted into it was placed on the round wooden board. Inside this kind of medicine bag is a clay pot, which contains a large amount of black powder, which is equivalent to an earthen grenade that has been enlarged several times. The outside of the clay pot was wrapped with several layers of cotton cloth, and the outside was wrapped with string. Because the earthenware pot is too brittle, It is covered with multiple layers of cotton cloth to prevent the earthenware pot from being shattered during the fire. The main function of the round wooden board is to isolate it, and its name is the isolation board. When the black powder in the log groove below is ignited, the large amount of gas generated when the black powder deflagrates will push the board upward, and at the same time shoot out a bag of powder on the log. That's right, after these 5 large barrels, logs and wooden boards were assembled, they formed a super heavy weapon that China made the enemy frightened during the liberation period. This simple but powerful weapon was helpless by the enemy, call it the unconscionable cannon. In fact, Shi Xiong remembered this kind of unscrupulous gun when he was making that earthen grenade. The unscrupulous cannon is a unique war weapon invented by the soldiers of China. During the Chinese Liberation War, the soldiers lag far behind the enemy in terms of weapons and equipment. In order to reverse the situation where this weapon was not dominant, the soldiers invented a more powerful and simpler structure based on the principle of mortars, lower-cost local weapons. The main body of this kind of native weapon is a gasoline can. At that time, no matter how poor the soldiers were, they could still get petrol drums or something, so the soldiers half buried the gasoline drum in the ground, padded the bottom with a thick enough log, and dug a groove in the center of the log to fill with propellant. After the propellant is loaded, a circular plank is used as an isolation board on the top of the isolation board. On the isolation board, landmines, explosive packs and even cluster grenades and other warheads are placed. Then when the propellant is ignited, the huge driving force generated by the propellant will push those various warheads to an area 200 meters away, and then the warhead will explode, causing huge damage to the enemy. Because this thing was originally launched as a landmine, it was affectionately called a flying cannon by the soldiers, which means a cannon that can make landmines fly. Because the bottom of the petrol can is filled with propellant, even if the petrol can is just a thin layer of iron, the power of the propellant is not enough to make the petrol can explode. The warhead can take care of everything, from landmines to ordinary explosive kits, to cluster grenades and even large rocks, mainly things that can cause damage to the enemy. This stuff has been launched. Of course, this kind of unscrupulous cannon that uses gasoline cans as barrels fires most of the shot. This kind of unscrupulous gun can send a pack of 10 kilograms of shots to an area more than 200 meters away, and the power of a pack of 10 kilos of shots that explodes is quite terrifying. We must know that the 155mm caliber M109A6 self-propelled artillery equipped by the U.S. Army in later generations only used M795 shells with a warhead charge of only 10.8 kilograms. www.wuxiaspot.com. And that kind of shells fell down half a football field, all dead. Although the explosives fired by unconscionable guns are not as powerful as the 155mm caliber shells, once the explosives explode, all people within 20 meters in diameter will be wiped out. Especially the shockwave generated by the drug bag is more severe. Many enemies who were killed on the battlefield had no injuries at all, but their 7 orifices bleed and their internal organs were all shattered. Therefore, the enemy called this type of artillery unconscionable artillery. Since then, the name of the unconscionable gun spread. During the Korean War, the volunteers bombarded the American Devils with unconscionable artillery, and the American Devils who bombed thought they had been bombed by 408mm heavy artillery. This shows how powerful this unscrupulous gun is. The artillery thing, Shi Xiong, is temporarily unable to make, and simpler mortars cannot be made temporarily due to the problem of the processing technology of the shells. But if this kind of unscrupulous gun that can fire a random bag or even a big stone is let go, I'm so sorry for the artifact used by this soldier. Shi Xiong is not short of black gunpowder in his hand. Although the steel plate is not so flat, it is not difficult to smash it out, so he asked Williams and the others to make 5 unscrupulous guns, which are ready to be verified during the expedition. A bit after these 5 unconscionable artillery pieces were made, they have been naturally experimented, but in the case of undead people, the power of this thing is really difficult to show. Moreover, at the beginning of the expedition, there was no chance to use a conscience cannon, So the power of these 5 gadgets really didn't even know Shi Xiong in his heart. Now that the enemy is following up without death, let's use them to verify the actual combat power of this conscientious cannon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271, Effect. At the time of the War of Liberation, the conscientious artillery can only be regarded as a soil weapon that cannot be soiled. But for people in this era, whether it is European colonists or more primitive and backward North American Indians, that is the out-and-out black technology weapon. Even Stone Bear underestimated the deterrence of unconscionable cannons on people of this age, especially these Indians who love this and that god. When 5 unscrupulous artillery shells weighing close to 20 kilograms exploded in and above Yu Chiren's team, Shi Xiong suddenly realized that his group didn't even need to fire a second shot. The ill-conscientious artillery used by Shi Xiong is more earthy than the ill-conscientious artillery used by the soldiers. Of course, this earth mainly refers to ammunition. When the soldiers used unscrupulous shelling to bomb the enemy back then, they still used serious ammunition packs. But what kind of ammunition did Shi Xiong get? It is to fill a large clay pot with black powder, and then wrap it with cotton cloth. The weight of a large clay pot is close to 10 kilograms, and another 10 kilograms of black powder is filled in it. The weight of a cannonball alone is close to 20 kilograms. In order to launch such a big guy into an area 200 meters away, the black powder used as a propellant was used by Shi Xiong and the others. The quantity of this propellant is not random. Shi Xiong remembers clearly that when the soldiers used the unscrupulous cannon, they had to put a pound of propellant in a 10-kilogram bag. The weight of the shell he made was doubled, and the propellant would naturally be doubled. Although black powder cannot be compared with smokeless powder, it is sufficient as a propellant. A charge of up to 2 kilograms is enough to send a shell weighing close to 20 kilograms to an area 200 meters away. The specially made fuse can also ensure that this clay pot shell can be completely detonated. Before the thunderbolt and flash hider were not made out, Shi Xiong could only use this most primitive way to explode a fire. However, this kind of conscience gun was also tested before this actual combat, and the effect is still very good. So when these 5 unscrupulous guns were carried here by Shi Xiong and the others, and then participated in the first actual combat, the effect they showed far exceeded the effect of the experiment. When experimenting with a conscientious cannon, because the detonation of a cannonball needs to rely on a fuse to complete, and the launch also requires a fuse, so when launching a cannonball, it is necessary to ignite 2 fuses at the same time. The fuse inserted into the unscrupulous artillery shell is slightly longer than the fuse inserted into the propellant. When the burning speed of the 2 fuses is about the same, the explosion time of the projectile can be guaranteed to be longer than that of the propellant. The time is so long for a short while. This time difference is about 5 seconds. When the conscience cannon was half buried in the ground, it was buried at an angle of 45 degrees. Under the impetus of the black powder, the speed of this kind of shell weighing close to 20 kilograms is estimated to be 100 meters at most /sec. This number is also a high estimate. It is necessary to know that the ejection speed of mortar shells during World War II was so fast. Moreover, the shape of the shells is irregular, the unscrupulous guns have no rifled lines, and the air resistance is added. Anyway, when testing at the beginning, the shells had to be hit to an area 200 meters away. The shells had to fly for nearly 5 seconds in the air. Clock time. When everything depends on estimation, Shi Xiong can only find a way on the fuse. The fuse installed on the shell must not only ensure that the shell does not explode before it exits the chamber, but also try to make the shell explode when it falls on the enemy's head, so as to cause the greatest damage. After many trials, this situation finally formed. The Shi Xiong's experiment was not wasted in vain. With 5 earth-shattering explosions, 5 black artillery shells slowly traversed a parabola in the air at a speed visible to the naked eye, rolling and falling into Yu Chiren's place. Area. 3 of the shells exploded after landing, while the other two exploded just above Yuchiren's head. Standing on the top of the mountain, the stone bear can clearly see the effect of the 3 bombs that exploded after landing. Only one of these 3 artillery shells landed in an area where the Yukai people were more concentrated, so when that shell exploded, the dust lifted up formed an obvious shock wave, and all the Yukai people standing within a radius of about 10 meters were torn into pieces by the explosion, and the Yuchiren within a radius of 20 meters all became blood gourds, and the blood was sprayed out as desperately as if they didn't need money. As for the area 20 meters away, at least more than 20 Yukai people were blown up by the shock wave. It is estimated that they will not survive after landing. With just a glance, Shi Xiong judged that this shell killed at least 40 Yuchiren. www.wuxiaspot.com. The other 2 shells that exploded after landing, although they did not kill so many people, it's okay to kill 15 or 6 in one shell. The most terrifying thing is the 2 air-explosive unscrupulous artillery shells, especially if one of them exploded in the area where the Yukai people were most concentrated. The effect was even more spectacular and tragic. The height of the explosion of this shell is 5 or 6 meters high. Although the power of black powder is far from comparable to those of later generations, the charge of a full 10 kilograms is also very terrifying. So, when this shell exploded, a small sun appeared above the heads of the Yukai people. And because there is no absorption of the shockwave by the earth, Shi Xiong can even see that the air near the explosion point has formed a wave visible to the naked eye. All Yuchiren within a radius of 30 meters below the blasting point were instantly crushed into fleshy flesh by the shockwave visible to the naked eye. The fragments produced by the shells exploded in the air also swept the surrounding area of 50 meters in just a few tenths of a second. Hundreds of Yukai people have been scraped into blood by the fragments. This unscrupulous artillery shell that exploded in the air directly caused the dense Yuchiren below to vacate a circle with a radius of about 50 meters. Although another air-explosive shell did not cause such a terrifying effect, in addition to being killed in a certain range, the Yuchiren were mostly bled by the shockwave. After these 5 unscrupulous artillery shells exploded, the original noisy area suddenly became deadly silent. As for Yuchiren, although these 5 sudden explosions completely suffocated them, what scared them even more was the 10 explosions that sounded one after another. Chapter 272, 1234, One more time. If it is said that when the conscientious cannon fires, because the distance is far and the barrel of the conscientious cannon is half buried in the soil, Yuchiren sounds that the 5 firing sounds are like muffled thunder in the distance, then these 5 cannonballs, especially when the 2 volley exploded shells exploded, the loud noise was like a thunderbolt above the head. And along with these 5 loud sounds that can deafen people, there are 5 groups of black mushroom clouds that are rising, and the sound and light effect is extremely scary. Therefore, most of the Yukai people who were not killed were not frightened by the lethality of these 5 artillery shells, but they were frightened by the 5 loud noises. In the heads of these Yukai people, there is no way to think of anything in this world that can make such a terrifying loud noise. If there is, it must be a in the sky. If it's a god, it's better, but the question is, can a kill so many of his own compatriots at once? Also, the rising black mushroom cloud, although not large in scale, looks really scary. Then this is not the handwriting of the gods, only Harpak has such a handwriting. This is the roar of the devil. And if you don't want to let the devil continue to kill his own people, the only way is to respectfully crawl on the ground and pray that Harpak will go away by himself. Therefore, when these 5 shells exploded completely, except for those Yukai who were frightened mad and seriously injured, the other Yukai who were okay almost all fell on the ground for the first time. They were not lying on the ground in fright, they wanted to express their surrender to the invisible Harpak in this way. Although Yukai and Cherokee are 2 tribes, as high-level people, whether it is Bigfoot, Jeoniu, or Das Han, they all immediately understood what Yukai was doing. These guys are scared, they are praying for forgiveness from the gods. Jeoniu removed the cloth tucked in his ears and said with a smile to those Yuchiren who were all lying on the ground below, "Ha ha, Maybe they are praying for the devil's forgiveness. Das-Han removed the cloth strips from his ears and eyes sooner, so he added with a smile. Bigfoot touched his numb ears and said with excitement, "Guardian, do you want to give them another shot? This thing is too exciting. If you give those Yukai people another shot, it will be straightforward, can scare them all away." Several gunners from the Gaoshu tribe also got together, and they all agreed with Bigfoot, the new tribe leader. The gunners of the conscientious guns are all elite warriors from the Gaoshu tribe. Although there is no technical content in firing such conscientious guns, the work of charging and ignition must also be done by trained people. The huge shell did not go out but exploded in the barrel. It is estimated that Shi Xiong and the others have to confess here. Although he had known the huge lethality and power of the conscience cannon for a long time, this was the first time Shi Xiong witnessed the performance of the conscience cannon in actual combat. He was also taken aback by the power of this thing. You know that the shells are only filled with black powder. If you change to 10 kilograms of explosive powder, fill it with a few kilograms of iron sand or cast iron fragments, and then use the flash cap to activate it, that power. After thinking about it, Shi Xiong felt drooling under his tongue. And what if the mortar is smashed out? Well, mortars are not difficult to handle, but if it is convenient to carry, what better than tossing canisters? Almost in an instant, Shi Xiong's thoughts began to spread out indefinitely because of these 5 shells, which spanned more than 200 years of history. Guardian, guardian. Until Kui Ma felt that his boss was a little distracted, he awakened the stone bear from the dissemination of thoughts. Huh? What's the matter? Hey, Uncle Jiao and Uncle Bigfoot feel that it is necessary to give those Yukai people another round. Anyway, we still have 5 shells. If we don't shoot them out, then bring them back. Isn't that justified? It's delicate, dangerous, and heavy, so let's not take it back. Anyway, this thing is used to kill Yukai. It's better to use it all on Yukai, Kuema said in a grunting voice. Shi Xiong looked at the people around him with the kind of one more round eager eyes, and immediately smiled. Well, since you are all willing to continue to appreciate the power of the unscrupulous cannon, let's shoot all the remaining ammunition. Go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, one more time. The crowd responded with a slam. For them, even though this conscientious cannon is the first time they have used it in this world, and it is a very earth weapon, but these Indian men with fighting blood flowing in their bones have a huge sound and light. The gadgets of effect are their favorite. They don't think that the unconscionable cannon earth, although they don't understand why the Guardian should give such a big and unspeakable cannon such a strange name. This does not affect their love of this weapon. Yes, in their eyes, whether it is a Ferguson rifle or an earthen grenade that is equally powerful, it is far less enjoyable than a conscientious gun. The best situation for a Ferguson rifle is to shoot one at a time. Although the homemade grenade is so powerful, it can kill 10 or 8 by throwing a grenade, but where is the fun of a conscientious gun? When the shell exploded just now, they all had seen the power of the unconscionable cannon. The power of that shell explosion directly killed dozens of people and wounded dozens of people. It shocked them too much. Now Master Guardian, let it come again. Wouldn't it be possible to witness the terrifying lethality of this mighty cannon again? I didn't say anything. Continue to refill. The 5-loader quickly cleaned the barrel www.wuxiaspot.com and again filled the grooved log with 2 kilograms of black powder, inserted the fuse, and then placed the spacer on it, and then carefully handled it. A huge cannonball was put in. With Shi Xiong's command to ignite, the 5 gunners took the ignited torch and ignited the 2 twisted fuse exposed on the outside of each barrel in turn, and then a group of people ran to a corner. Squat down. Then, accompanied by 5 muffled thunderous sounds, 5 shells flew out of the barrel slowly, and fell again downward. However, the bombing effect this time was obviously not as good as last time. The main reason was that most of the Yukai people below were crawling on the ground at this time. But even so, hundreds of people were lying on the ground with their internal organs shattered by the shock wave. And the remaining Yuchi people, after these 5 shells exploded again, turned into a large pile of aqua blowflies thrown into a stone. They didn't even dare to pray, So they scattered and fled. Still looking for Super Chief's free novels? I do direct search. It's easy to read novels. Chapter 273, Control Your Heart of Killing. All members of the expedition team, including Stone Bear, were dumbfounded. Although the Cherokees look down on Uchiren, they also know that Uchiren is a group of bullies and hardships, but it's too bad to be so intimidated, right? You are also elite warriors of the Yukai clan anyway. Seeing the large group of Yukai people crying for their fathers and mothers running around, even the injured clansmen couldn't take care of them. Shi Xiong and the others were really helpless. I had known that these Yukai people were so unintimidated. They brought more shells when they first came. According to this situation, you only need to let go all the way with a conscience gun, and it is estimated that it will not take long to flatten the entire Yuchi clan. But the problem is that they brought 10 shells on this expedition, and they can only enjoy themselves on this small hill. Master Guardian, shall we continue pushing? Although we don't have shells anymore, our homemade grenade hasn't moved yet. The power of the thing may not be as powerful as a conscientious cannon, but it is absolutely no problem to scare this bunch of Yukai. Yes, we still have more than half of our ammunition. Can't we bring it back like this, right? The Great Axe said with a smile. This guy is an out-and-out war madman, and the ghost knows how a secluded tribe can cultivate such a war madman. In these few battles, the giant axe was the first to take the lead every time, and every time he charged, he must be at the forefront. It seemed that he didn't know how to write the word for death. Fortunately, this guy was holding a musket in his hand. If he were replaced with the previous bone spear or bone knife, he would have died a long time ago. I don't know how many times. Shi Xiong looked at the tribe with exhaustion and excitement on his face, then looked at Das Han, and finally turned his gaze on Bigfoot and Jiao Niu. Bigfoot and Jiao Niu both shook their heads slightly. Shi Xiong knew what they meant. In the end, Shi Xiong said after thinking for a while, "Brothers, this expedition ends here, we should go back." Upon hearing this, the giant axe became anxious. "Master Guardian, we can continue to fight. We still want to follow you to kill all these Yukai people." At least half of the soldiers have this look on their faces. It can be seen that the victories in these games have given them great confidence. However, Shi Xiong shook his head firmly and said, "Giant Axe, and other brothers, I know what you think, and I also know what you want to kill Uchiren. But if you think so, then you have entered a misunderstanding." Hearing Master Guardian say so, these warriors, including the giant axe, listened carefully with their ears. The great victories in several consecutive battles have raised Shi Xiong's prestige to the extreme, and his words are more important than anyone else's words. "My brothers, have you forgotten what we did when we climbed the Great Smoky Mountains and came here?" "No, I have not forgotten, Master Guardian. We have not forgotten what we are here for. We are here to avenge." Several Zio tribe warriors clenched their fists and said loudly. The others also nodded. "Then, have we got revenge?" "Since we met the first Yuchi tribe, the number of Yuchi who died in our hands has been close to 1,000. The most important thing is that in today's battle, we have not only once again killed the chief of the Yuchi and the leaders of the two tribes, and we also burned the court of the Yuchi. It can be said that our goal of revenge has been achieved. Don't you think so?" The soldiers of the Zio tribe all began to nod their heads in agreement. "And your biggest mistake now is that we have clearly completed the task of revenge, but you still want to satisfy your own inner desires through killing. Hope, brothers, my dear brothers, this is your greatest mistake." After a pause, Shi Xiong said sincerely, "I know that killing is an addictive thing, even more addictive than smoking a pipe. But we can't let ourselves indulge in senseless killing. It will make us addicted. Become a demon who can only kill people. Brothers, you must learn how to control your heart of killing. Fighting for revenge can be killed, but we must not become people who kill because of killing. If we change becoming such a person, what are the differences between us and demons? Do you want to become demons who only know how to kill?" Shi Xiong's words made everyone on the scene bow their heads. Even Jiao Niu and Big Feet. However, Great Axe asked boldly after being silent for a while, "My Lord Guardian, I know you are right, and I will listen to you too, but does this mean that I can't kill people in the future? I mean, if an enemy appears in the future, can I not kill the enemy? Shi Xiong smiled and waved his hand. Great axe, you are a good warrior, the most powerful warrior of the Xiao tribe. I also understand your responsibility to protect the tribe and tribesmen. So what I want to tell you is you, including all the brothers present now, once an enemy appears in the future, once we need to conquer other tribes, the necessary killing is still possible, because that kind of killing is not killing for the sake of killing. But you must remember that if you encounter it in the future when it comes to people with yellow skin and black hair like us, try not to kill as much as possible. What we want to kill is the white-skinned and yellow-haired Vasiku. That is our goal. The giant axe nodded in a daze. Presumably he didn't know the meaning of what the guardian said. Not only the giant axe, but most of the other fighters have this expression. Shi Xiong smiled and said, "My brothers, don't be confused by what I said. You may not understand what I said now, but you will understand later. Now that you still don't understand, then you only need to obey my orders, and I will tell you those people should be killed, and those people don't need to be killed, so you won't feel confused. I have to say that the North American Indians of this era are so foolish." After the shiksha, a bowl of chicken soup that is not considered chicken soup, was poured. These soldiers immediately patted their chests and screamed www.wuxiasput.com. A pair of stone bears. The head of the horse looks like Zon. Well, my brothers, you are now the most elite fighters. But even the most elite fighters need to rest. There is a saying in the ancient Eastern Kingdom, which is called Kwigangizan. You are enough now. It's hard and strong, but it's better not to be so hard for a long time. What you need now is not to continue fighting, but the warmth of the tribe and home. So, my brothers, let us pack our things and go home. A group of people screamed and started to pack their things. Some people dig the 5 conscientious cannons, and some take the cloth strips out of horse ears and cow ears. When the conscientious cannon is fired, the ears and eyes of both horses and bison are blocked by cloth strips, and they have no conscience. The sound of the cannon is much larger than that of the musket, and it is easy to frighten these mounts. When Shi Xiong and the others rode down this small hill on their mounts, besides the dead, there were those injured Yukai people. A Yukai warrior couldn't see them, and they all scared away. Still looking for Super Chief's free novels? May I do direct search? It's easy to read novels. Chapter 274, Chase and Intercept. I thought that Yuchiren had been completely frightened, but what Shi Xiong could not imagine was that their return journey was not so smooth. On the night when the Yuchi king's court was set on fire and 5 unscrupulous cannons were used to scare away Yuchi, Shi Xiong and the others encountered a small wave of Yuchi sneak attacks when they were camping. There were not many Yukai people who came for the sneak attack. There were only more than 20 people, but because of surprise and Shi Xiong, they did not expect that Yukai people would even dare to follow the attack. As a result, 4 soldiers including Das Han were shot and injured by Yukai people. Although the injury is not serious, it can be seen that Yuchiren does not seem to have completely disintegrated his fighting spirit. They may have been shocked in the battle this morning, but after most of the adjustments, they adjusted quickly. This sudden attack team had already proved that Yuchiren had recovered. The 4 of Das Han and the others were not the most serious after being shot. The most serious situation was that those Yukai who attacked unexpectedly ran away 5 or 6. This was a little troublesome. Obviously, the recovered Yukai didn't want to let Shi Xiong and the others go just like that, so Yukai should have sent a lot of teams into the Great Smoky Mountain, and then searched for Shi Xiong and their whereabouts. After all, the chieftain who had just taken office was killed by these people, and even the king's court was burned by these people. No matter how you think about it, it is an endless vengeance. Of course, the recovered Yukai must swear to kill Shi Xiong and the others. Compared with the Chicashas and Cherokees in the north of the Great Smoky Mountains, the Yuchi who have lived in the southern foot of the Great Smoky Mountains for hundreds of years are naturally more familiar with the conditions in this area. They are the natives here, and they are as familiar with the palms of their hands as every dirt road in every river valley in this area. Although Shi Xiong and the others have their mounts, this is a mountainous area, and most of the places are walked by them with their mounts. The mounts are simply used to carry heavy animals in this terrain, and they can't get up. To let Shi Xiong and the others speed up the marching speed. Shi Xiong and their evacuation route, the Yukai people naturally do not know. Even if the Yukai people are natives here, there are so many river valleys in the Great Smoky Mountains, it is impossible for them to find the most accurate one among so many passable river valleys, so they can only take this way of casting a net widely to find the traces of the stone bears. The Yukai people encountered on the first night of the evacuation should be the exploration team discharged by the Yukai people. If Shi Xiong and the others can keep all these 20-odd Yukai people, then even if Yukai people find out that this exploration team is missing, it will have to be a matter of days later. Taking advantage of this time, Shi Xiong and the others left long ago, far. But if these 5 or 6 people ran away, it meant that the Yukai troops who received the news would be surrounded by tomorrow at the latest. Although I am not afraid of Yuchi's large forces, this is a mountainous area after all, and the advantages of Stone Bear and their mounts will be completely offset by the terrain. And in order to protect these precious war horses, Shi Xiong and the others could not throw away these war horses and move forward alone. Therefore, since the emergence of the first group of Yukai who attacked, Shi Xiong thought this was a more difficult problem. The facts quickly verified Shi Xiong's worries. At noon on the second day after being attacked by the Yuchi, about 100 Yuchi fighters blocked the Stone Bear and their way forward. It is the midsummer season. These Yuchi warriors are almost completely naked, holding all kinds of weapons in their hands, and their faces are painted with fancy patterns, which is no different from savages. But the thing that these Yukai fighters are holding can really kill people. Thus, a short and fierce encounter began. This is the Great Smoky Mountain. Even if it is placed in later generations, it is absolutely high in the mountains and densely forested. In this era, it is the primeval forest. Fighting in this type of terrain is very unfavorable for the stone bears. The thick trees with those few people hug are everywhere, which can reduce the power of the musket to a minimum. On the contrary, the expedition team in the middle of the valley became a bright target. Fortunately, Yuchiren's bows and arrows are not so far away, and if they want to shoot the soldiers of the expedition team, they must enter the range of 70 meters, and within this range, the power of the Ferguson rifle can be maximized. However, Shi Xiong did not let the brothers use muskets to deal with these Yuchis. Fighting on this kind of terrain, muskets are inferior to bows and arrows. Shi Xiong armed the soldiers of the expedition squad to the teeth, not to mention the guns. The range and power of the bows and arrows he specially made for the soldiers were not comparable to that of the bows and arrows in Yuchiren's hands. The range of bows and arrows used by the expedition team can reach a terrifying 150 meters. Of course, this refers to the range that can be achieved by fighters like Da Shan who can fully draw the bow. Most fighters do not have the power to draw this strong bow, so when they use their bows and arrows, their range is only about 120 meters. But even so, the range of this strong bow is much greater than that of the bow and arrow in Yuchiren's hand. The most important thing is that the expedition team is equipped with a dedicated wooden shield. The large wooden shield wrapped in iron that Shi Xiong equipped for the expedition team. Once the shield wall is erected, let alone Yuchiren's bow and arrow, even if they throw a bone spear at close range, they will not be able to break the defense. Although the battle was fierce, www.wuxiaspa.com. It was actually a one-sided massacre. With the shield wall as a cover, the expedition team came out with a few unlucky ones who were unfortunately shot by Yuchiren's Liuzi when they opened their bows and shot arrows, and no one else was hurt. Even the warriors who were shot were too far away, and Yuchiren's bows and arrows were all bone arrows, so their power was limited, and the injuries were only skin injuries. But the bow and arrow of the expedition team is different. The three-sided arrow made of steel, once it hits an enemy, even if it is wiped, it is a blood trap. If you shoot directly, you can shoot through a person directly at a distance of 70 meters. Therefore, this short and fierce encounter eventually evolved into a one-sided massacre. Especially on the expedition team, there is such a big killer as Shi Xiong. The big bow in his hand is like a precision-guided missile. As long as the Yuchiren targeted by him will end up with only 2, They will either be nailed to the trunk of the tree or to the ground. In the end, the more than 100 Yuchi people once again dropped more than 50 bodies, and the remaining more than 40 people fled into the dense forest. However, this encounter also awakened Shi Xiong completely. Under his command, the speed of the team's advancement accelerated a lot, and they only had a rest for about 2 hours that night, and they drove overnight. Yesterday, there were about 20 people, but today it has become 100 people. Obviously, Yuchiren has figured out the evacuation route on his side, and Yuchiren must try every means to chase and intercept. This is the home court of Yuchiren. If more Yuchiren are surrounded, the result is really hard to say. Although Shi Xiong is 100% sure to take the brothers back, he does not want to show up a few corpses of the brothers in the expedition team. Chapter 275, Choose a Battlefield. In the next 2 days, despite the expedition team speeding up as quickly as possible, the mount originally used to increase mobility became their burden. No way, since we want to avenge the Yuchiren over the Great Wushan Mountain, mobility in the battle is very, very necessary. In fact, these mounts have indeed played a very important role in the battle. Whether it is attacking or retreating, with these mounts, the expedition team has a huge advantage in a battle. But when these mounts enter the mountains, they completely become a burden. However, everyone except Stone Bear is very precious to these precious mounts, so even if they are greatly affected, no one is willing to discard even one mount. The result was that even though the expedition team had used their best efforts to speed up, in the next 2 days, they were still slowed down by the scattered Yukai people. Stone, it can't go on like this. The number of injured brothers in our team has increased to 12, although it is not a serious injury, but if this continues, things will definitely be bad. Yuchiren is obviously determined to leave us alone. Now, we have to think of a way. After just chasing away more than 10 harassing Yuchiren, Jiao Naiu solemnly expressed his thoughts to Shi Xiong. Shi Xiong smiled bitterly. Uncle, of course I understand this, but… Shi Xiong looked at the mounts that seemed to be unaware that the danger was still eating the green grass on the ground, feeling helpless again, shook his head. Don't even think about it. These mounts are absolutely not to be left behind. This is the most precious treasure in the tribe. Jiao Naiu immediately understood the meaning of the Stone Bear, and wanted to abandon the slow-moving idea of tame bison. Stone Bear, I've mentioned it to Jiao Naiu and Bigfoot before, but they met with strong opposition. Even if Dasan still has a giant axe, he is determined to keep these mounts. Okay, Shi Xiong smiled bitterly and raised his hands to surrender. Then he took out a thick craft paper from his waist pocket with some routes drawn on it, which was the route they had taken before they came. Staring at the road map that was so simple that no one else would recognize it for a while, Shi Xiong finally pointed his index finger to a point on the simple map and said, Uncle, if we want to evacuate safely in the end, we must find a place where we can have a decisive battle with these Yuchi people, a place that is enough to give our weapons an advantage. Bigfoot also came closer, and there was a 2-inch-long wound on his forehead. When a group of Yuchi attacked yesterday evening, his forehead was wiped with a streamer, and as a result, there was such a wound on his forehead. Guardian, I remember that before I came, you once said in a place that if you build a dam under this place, then a lake will be formed here. I don't know what you mean by a dam, but I think the place you mentioned is not bad, at least the terrain is much flatter. Shi Xiong smiled and said, Uncle Bigfoot, the place you mentioned is the place I am referring to. On the way here, when the expedition squad camped, the camping location chosen happened to be next to Burton Lake. In later generations, later Americans built several dams on the upper reaches of the Tagalog River, forming several reservoirs, among which the uppermost reservoir is called Lake Burton. It's just that there is no dam at this time, so naturally there is no Lake Burton. However, the ability to form a huge artificial reservoir in this area proves that the terrain in this area is much flatter, at least in the area covered by Lake Burton. The terrain is much better than the surrounding alpine valleys. The most important thing is that the Tagalog River has formed several continuous big bends at this location, and because of the slowing of the terrain, the water at the bottom of these big bends has become quite gentle, and the depth of the river has also become very shallow. Riding a mount can easily cross the Tagalog River. In other words, no matter how Shi Xiong and the others go, if they want to return the same way, they must choose to cross the river in this place. Dajiao and Jiao Niu both recalled the scene when they were camping, glanced at each other, and nodded. "I'll go and tell my brothers, continue to speed up, and we will try to get there in the evening," Bigfoot said as he turned and left, and after a while, there was a sound of Bigfoot's voice. The exhausted team continued to draw. Compared to the high spirits when he came, even Shi Xiong did not expect that the way back would be so difficult. Yuchiren's resilience cannot be underestimated. After climbing over a hill, the expedition team faced the setting sun and began to cross the river in the shallow river beach area. Even if he chose this place as the location of the decisive battle, Shi Xiong didn't want to cut his own back. Shi Xiong doesn't want to do those messy things that are messy. Although the expedition team is not large in number, weapons occupy an absolute advantage, as long as there is a good terrain. www.wuxiaspa.com. Even the Yuchiren can catch up with 1,000 people. They also have the confidence to make a wave. And this front beach is obviously a very suitable place for muskets. As long as you cross the river and build simple fortifications on the grass on the edge of the river beach, you can rely on the brothers each to have a full 150 left. With more than a dozen rounds of ammunition, Shi Xiong is confident that he will teach Yukai to pursue another lesson. Let them fully understand why the flower is so red and why the pot is made of iron. When they climbed over that hill, Shi Xiong and the others saw some abnormal conditions around them. Obviously, Yuchiren also wants to complete the final pursuit here. Even without the help of a telescope, Stone Bear can see the abnormal conditions around this hill. At least there are some abnormalities in 6 directions. Obviously, there are a large number of people moving in the dense forest in those 6 directions. Even in the direction opposite the Kyantan, there seems to be Yuchi people's activities. The Yuchiren in that direction were obviously prepared to intercept the expedition team, but more Yuchimen chased and surrounded the expedition team behind and on the flanks. Since this is the case, it is even more impossible to do things that are ruined. Wouldn't it be better to cross the Tagalog River and then half-cross the enemy on the other side of the river? As for the Yukai people blocking in front, as long as they dare to show up, Shi Xiong doesn't mind letting them taste the power of the platoon gun. In the process of descending the mountain, Stone Bear told his brothers in the expedition team about the surrounding situation, so when crossing the river, there was no need for Stone Bear to arrange. The brothers crossed the Tagalog River in an orderly manner, and then on the beach, a simple fortification was constructed on the grassland of the country. And the mount, after putting cloth strips in his ears, was still driven aside by 10 soldiers. If the estimate is good, Yuchiren should launch an attack at night. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.